Look at us now.
Oh, Jesus.
It's what, 11 a.m.?
Combat.
Oh, there it is.
You fit in seamlessly in this weird MK environment.
Do you want a margarita?
We're gonna do it. On your marks, get set, and go down. If you need a lawyer to help with money laundering, boy, do I have the co-host for you. Welcome, everyone, on this 20th day of March, 2026, for another edition of Morning Kombat. I am merely one half of your hosting duo. I join you from the capital of Estados Unidos. My name is Luke Thomas, joined by Better Call Y'all himself. He is Georgia's least interesting person. Well, that's not true. There's actually a lot of people that are less interesting than you in Georgia, but he's one of them. It's Jed Medshew. What's up, Jed?
Hey, Luke. I want everyone on MK to know that hold screen image that was just up of me broke contain in my personal life, and now my friends will text me and be like, "Look at this smug son of a bitch," and I'm like, "Great, really glad about that."
The good news is that no one in my life cares about anything I do. So I don't ever have to worry about that. You know what I mean? I can just say whatever I want on this show and it will literally never get back to them. It's actually, you know what? When you first start doing it, you're like, wow, this is it's kind of demoralizing. And then later on, you're like, no, actually, this is a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
This is true freedom.
Yeah, I'm unencumbered. I'm unencumbered. How are you doing, Jed? How are things over at MMA Fighting? Are you excited we have fights tonight? And we have fights tomorrow. Are you excited at all about any of these?
I'm actually pretty pumped for both of them. Well, like half. I think the London card has a lot of stuff going on, and we will talk about that, obviously. This PFL card, I know that it's PFL, so if a PFL falls in the woods, does anyone watch it? No, especially during March Madness. But I really like a lot of the fights on this, and certainly the top two for PFL Madrid I think are quite good. And Jesus.
We'll get to him in a minute.
And like, there's the London card's weird. Like, it's definitely some weird stuff happening over there, but the main event bangs, and there are enough things. And I'm a sucker for midday MMA. I don't have to stay up until 2 a.m. tomorrow night, which I'm pumped about.
I think this is the right answer. There's a little bit to enjoy today, certainly. We'll talk about actually the beginning of the PFL calendar. It's not their first event of the year, but it's the first of a long string of events that are going to take place in close succession. And then, of course, as you mentioned, that banger main event in UFC London is just going to be tremendous. Let's go to the third member of the show here, introducing himself by way of flatulence. It's the one and only Long Island Luke. Hello, Long Island.
What's up? I mean, I'm not going to say that PFL and PFL UFC London, they're comparable this weekend, but at the same time, like, we can't look at this PFL card and be like, oh, sick card. Do you know anyone on the prelims, Jed, besides Van Steenis' brother?
No, because it's a bunch of locals, but the main stuff is good. And if you look, like, this is one of the now classic weekends when we get a doubleheader. If you combine these two cards, you'd have one very good call.
I do love the fact that they're doing it on a Friday, but
I do. I have major questions about how that's good for their business, but I like that they're doing it on a Friday, and I really like that they've gone to Spain with Van Steenis, which is a thing that we mock the UFC for never doing with their champions, and PFL at least will do that. So, but I doubt we're here to talk PFL right off the rip.
Yeah,
no, we're definitely not. All right, so let's set this up here. You heard what we're going to get to on today's show. Thumbs up if you're watching. Hit subscribe if you haven't. Follow us on social, on TikTok, on whatever the hell. It doesn't even really matter, but just do that. It'd be so nice if you did. You can always reach the show to reach the producers or for fan subs or for Dead Wrong, for any of those kinds of things by emailing us, morningkombat@gmail.com. Morningkombat@gmail.com. We don't have a lower third for that? Let's get that on the screen.
I must have accidentally deleted it. I'm not seeing it right now.
Wow. Amazing. All right. But
you don't have a fart noise for yourself, Long Island? Come on, bro.
Yeah, exactly. He'll big us up or he'll roast us. But
do you want me to load in the lower? Or you want me to put the fart noise? I'm trying to load it in. You're asking
it's fine.
For the
it's fine.
Noise.
Just have it by the end of the show if you can. And then we have merch. Morningkombat.shop. Morningkombat.shop is going to have all the places you need. These are the March designs. As you can see here, it's the Trasher Basher design. Both the shirt and the hoodie are available. Delta 8 will light it up for you. And then last and certainly not least, how about that McDonald's Wi-Fi? Again, these are all courtesy of Average Joe Art. These are all only available on sale until the end of the month, and then they shall be no more. I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anything. We'll play a couple of games at the end of the show, but if that's about it, let's get this party started. Are you ready, Jed?
Let's bang.
Let us bang. So let's talk about UFC London. It is back. I have actually one question I want to get to a little bit later, but let's just kind of start with the main event. Top-ranked featherweights and the return since 2024, since December of 2024, the return of Movsar Evloev taking on hometown fighter Lerone Murphy. Now, Jed, we kind of get the score here, right? This is presumed to be a number one contenders fight. And I think on top of that, most observers, I would argue, are probably going to view these two guys as either, who you can pick who you want as number one, but if whoever you pick, then the other guy is naturally going to be two. Like, these are the two most deserving guys in that division to be ranked so highly. So with that as the context, what else is on the line between these two? What are they setting out to prove here?
I mean, I think we're going to talk about the title aspect later because there are some peculiarities about it. Let's say that. I think that both men are kind of in the same boat here. They are setting out and it ties into the whole conversation, but I think both dudes have to look at this fight as sort of their future in the promotion, which sounds insane. I recognize that is a ludicrous statement for two guys who have never lost and have fought like 40 combined times. But I mean, we know where the UFC is going, how things have been done lately. And you look at them and there's a reason neither of these men are fought for a belt already. There was a window and they chose Diego freaking Lopez again. And it's because they do not have the UFC's favor. And, I would say Lerone is a little higher on the pecking order and, based on how they've treated Movsar, frankly. But I think both men need to come out here and not just try to win a fight, but try to make a statement that, oh, UFC, you can love me. I promise I won't be the sort of fighter you don't want to be near the top of your division and you just sort of have to carry around with you out of obligation. I'm a guy that you can get behind at least in some way. And so to me, that's honestly one of my biggest questions this weekend, because we talk about the X's and O's. I think it's fairly straightforward in this fight, unless one or both men come in with something to prove, and then things get real wonky real fast.
Do you expect that?
I don't know. Because I could see it. I can see Movsar Evloev coming in and being like, hey, man, remember when Curtis Blades was really good and never fought for a belt and then was like, I'm going to stand and bang, bro. Maybe I can do that. Because I also think that he could. I don't think it would be to his best to do that, but I don't think it's a 0%er that if he tried to mostly strike with Murphy, he would lose. I think he can have some success on the feet in a fight like that. And so maybe he does, because he hasn't fought in a long time, Luke. And this is not a secret. Everyone is very aware of how the UFC views him. Dana White has specifically been he's boring. So at some point, does that weigh on you? Do you say, hey, man, I'm seeing all these people get opportunities and I'm not getting them and I'm the most deserving. Maybe I need to change. And he's had a long time to think about it. I hope he doesn't, because I want fighters to be the best versions of themselves, but I think it's in play.
I'm a little bit worried about this fight in one sense, which is, we're currently in this moment where there is a greater appetite for a UFC event or fight or main event that will really just deliver. I know we had the Apex card and that was really, really good. And I don't want to deny that, but again, the main event was a blowout and Vallejos went into that contest as the heavy favorite. In some sense, it was more a fulfillment of the baseline expectations to a degree. But I think there's this general appetite for having something really deliver. And I don't know if the main event was actually going to do something like that. But what's really quite a shame is that someone asked me on my live chat about this yesterday, Jed, and I think it's a pretty good question because I think the answer is yes. Is this the best non-title fight you could make in the UFC, maybe in all of MMA? And dude, if you think about it, in terms of like, is this the best fight you could make to deliver action? Well, I don't know about that. But like, look at this graphic that we have here. Put the first one up about from Mike Bond. Lerone Murphy versus Movsar Evloev at UFC London will set a new UFC record for most wins without a loss in a single matchup at 36-0-1. The previous mark was Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado Gary at UFC 310, which, by the way, was not a bad fight whatsoever. Let's look at their win streaks here if we can as well. Like, look at this. The only people above them are champions. The only person below them is about to fight for a championship. And then they're both sitting right there. Bro, this fight is when you're matching up two legit guys for big stakes in a main event. Like, I'm sorry, on paper, it doesn't come much better than this. And I'm almost hoping, and I know this is silly, Jed, but I'm almost hoping people go into this with somewhat managed expectations about the action, because this is one of those contests where I'm not going to say I don't care about the action, but I am going to say I care about it a little bit less given all the other parts of this fight that are actually so great.
Yeah, man. Like I said earlier this week on one of our shows on Me Fighting, I was like, this is the best fight the UFC has put together this year. Full stop. Right? Like there's an argument that the BMF title fight, right? Like on paper, that's certainly more accomplished long-term fighters, Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira. But I think we can all acknowledge that neither Max nor Charles are probably at the peak of their powers. And so if that's sort of the lens in which you view this is the best fight the UFC's put together. And I hadn't considered that. It's one of, if not the best fight that can be made outside of a title fight in the UFC right now. You know, like you could quibble, you could say Ian Machado Gary versus Michael Morales, right? Like that's sort of on par. But I mean, yeah, this is as good as high level MMA gets. And that is the reason to be excited about London. It is not for casuals, because I think the most likely outcome, to your point, is that this won't be a barn burner. But I do think it can be technically quite fun if that's sort of a thing that's appealing to you. And at the minimum, like we are getting two of the 5 best dudes in the world. And so that's something I'm always signed up for, man.
Yeah, dude, I was, you know, sometimes, hear me out. Sometimes, oh yeah, Long Island Luke wrote in the chat, technical thriller incoming. It could be. This is actually one of those ones where
it's as if you've worked with him a long time.
Yeah. But this is actually one of those ones where it actually could be that it could qualify for technical thriller. I forgot what point I was making before I got you sidetracked me, Long Island.
That's why I put it in the chat. I didn't want to interrupt. I just look at it when you get a chance. Sorry.
You sidetracked me. I forgot where I was going. Oh, I was going to say, you know, I have to do tape studies for my job generally, and then for Friday's MKs and blah blah blah. Dude, I got to rewatch that Aljamain Sterling Movsar fight.
Fun, right? I rewatched it this morning.
It was great. That fight was great. I was like, yo, I forgot about how good this contest was.
I forgot how competitive. Like, it is totally reasonable to score that fight for Aljo, and I did not realize it until rewatching it again this morning.
So you would give Aljo what, first and third?
You can. I think I'm comfortable, and on the night and even on rewatch, I still give Movsar 1 and 3 or 2 and 3, but
yeah.
I mean, he definitely won 1, and 3 is like a very back and forth. I think Movsar puts a stamp on it a little more, and that's why he gets it. But that was a very competitive, very fun fight.
I started the conversation by asking you what you thought was on the line here, beyond the obvious kind of things that we had identified that are staring everyone in the face. And I think you rightly pointed to that. You know, what's your future going to be with the company? Lerone will be 35 here in a few months. And
sneaky old.
Say again?
Sneaky old.
Sneaky old. He looks to be in phenomenal condition, but he's not got a lot of that kind of athletic life left. Movsar's 32, so he's not out of it by any stretch, but he's on the back end, or at least the beginning, I should say, of the back end of his prime, and that is really important to strike while the iron is hot. I would also say here, it's not just about drumming up enthusiasm for a title shot, and no matter how they win here, they can't actually answer this question, but doing something so impressive that it makes people believe that you've got a shot against Volkanovski. right? And there's different ways in which that can be accomplished. Lerone, is not Movsar, and Movsar is not Lerone. We'll talk about the X's and O's. It looks like a striker grappler matchup to most observers, I think. But whatever they end up doing, just looking impressive enough that you think it can transcend. Because the problem, for example, with the Aljamain fight was it was tooth and nail. And Movsar has never gone 5 rounds, certainly not in UFC. And so you're like, well, I don't know how that would go exactly. I mean, beating the other guy and putting some distance between them to the point where you're like, not only is that the guy, like the deserved guy, but Alberg is the deserved guy at 205. But if he had fought Poatan, Jed, are you picking Alberg? No. I mean, deserving it, and then also having the kind of performance where you're like, dude, he just might do this. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's sort of why this is a weird fight, because it felt like we had that with Lerone last year coming off the Pico murder. It's like, oh, this guy's undefeated and he just killed Aaron Pico. And that's when you're at the peak of how much does Volk have left, even coming off of his own win over Diego Lopez, right? You're still like, he's a little older. And now Volk's put down another great performance and we're getting this. So if Murphy wins and it's unconvincing or just uninspired, then I think you're right. Like that'll take a lot of the shine off of the potential for that fight. And so, yeah, like that's absolutely at play. I honestly think the biggest thing at play here is that the loser will never fight for a belt. Unequivocally. I'm not sure the winner gets to fight for a belt, but the loser will never fight for a UFC championship. And so there's a lot at stake to lose on Saturday in the main event.
Now, one other issue before we talk about the title shot that should, maybe will come, depending on how the winner goes, is also some of the hardship that Evloev has faced. So he didn't fight at all in 2025, and he barely made it to London kind of on time. He didn't get there till Wednesday. A lot of times guys come in, they're usually your weigh-in, check-in with the promotion is on Tuesday. A lot of guys get there even before that. Evloev talked to Mike Bond about some of the visa issues he had getting into Great Britain.
Were you worried at any point that this was going to stop the fight from happening? There were some rumors a few days ago, but I know you're there and I'm sure you don't want to think about it too much.
I wasn't worried about getting here because, trust me, I tried to get here probably more than anybody else in the history of trying to get to London. I was like the number one trier to get to London. That's not really what was on my mind. What I'm more worried about is the fact that I need to come out and I need to fight. I need to show people. I need to show everybody because I'm a competitor. I really like the competition aspect of it. I wanted to show people the levels, the work that I put in to get to where I am, that this number one next to my name is not just there because it looks pretty, but it's there because this is what I worked for. But the worst thing is, it was coming through my head, is that if I weren't going to make it here, then everybody was going to say, well, it's his fault, even though it would have been not for the fault of my own, because I've done anything I could. The rest was out of my hand, or whoever figures these things out, whoever fixes these things, this is whose fault it was. But at the end, they were all going to look at me and say, oh, again, it's Movsar's fault. But you can't control what you cannot control. So all I was hoping is that I would come out here and show the levels that I have.
Jed, your reaction?
He's not wrong. Right? Like if he didn't get to fight, like it would entirely be, well, Movsar sucks. And like the fan base would take that, and the UFC would certainly use any excuse they have they don't need excuses, but they'll use them to be like, yep, can't even make fights. Why would we give him a title shot? So like, he's not wrong. That being said, and I feel a little bit of bad saying this because I wish I didn't feel this way, but dude, he's not interesting at all. Like even in that clip, it was just like, man, all right, well, I guess we're listening to this. So find a way to be interesting, Movsar, because I think you might be the best featherweight on earth, and I don't know if you're ever going to get to prove that.
The times he has opened up about his personality, he did not reveal particularly
dude, like
thinking.
The one thing about his personality is like, I stopped eating sugar until I get to win a UFC title. Like, okay, cool, man. Give us something to latch on to.
I need somebody who eats bugs or some shit. You know what I mean? I need somebody.
Look, Leona Machida made a brand out of drinking his own urine. At least say you do that.
Eat bugs, drink piss, do something kind of fun the whole way through if you can. I will say about the visa thing, I don't think it's going to be the issue, but like to the point that we've been talking about here, Jed, you know what's so interesting about this fight is like we're talking about like how good these guys are and the win streaks are so good, and they've been undefeated or they've just been haven't lost in either at all or in quite some time, or the draw, whatever the record was, 36-0-1 combined. And then at the same time, it's like, yet both of these guys are on incredibly thin ice, right? If the fight is boring, even the winner might not get a title shot. If you lose, this might be completely it for you. They're just in a weird spot where they're really good, they're really respected, they're ranked really high, they're in a main event. And if you fuck up here, it's curtains for you, brother.
Dude, even if you don't fuck up, like you can do everything right, and it's still just... What is Movsar like? How is Movsar fucked up? Like he's just won fights. Like that's the thing we say we want. It's the only thing he's ever done, and he's still just in purgatory, man.
Crazy.
Like tough scenes in MMA these days.
That's a tough place to be. It's like, okay, how many fights have you lost? None of them. Oh, you must be sitting pretty. No,
not at all. Because, dude, that's the thing. Like, I used to say this all the time, especially at welterweight. I was like, Leon, you're a great fighter. You need to find a way to be interesting. And then Leon just sort of hung around long enough, and he got his day in court, and he won a belt. And I said the same thing with Bilal. And like, I'm saying it about Movsar, and I just don't even know if it's true. Like, if he can simply just wait long enough, and eventually he'll get his time to shine.
Yeah, it's a delicate thing that he's doing. Let's bring in our friends at Cuervo as we look ahead to what kind of title shot may or may not be there, but certainly part of the broader discussion. It's what we're mixing up, presented by Cuervo for every round. Keep it fun, keep it Cuervo. Our friend Brian Campbell, Jed, spoke to Evloev, and he wanted to impart that he's going to leave no doubt about his ability to get this title shot. Let's hear it.
Well, speaking of the fight on Saturday, I'm wondering, do you believe you will need a finish to secure what you're looking to get, which is that title shot?
Maybe I will start believing this narrative because of the recent developments and recent events that we've seen. If you look at the last big title fight, the BMF fight, and all of that stuff, it seems as though finishes is what guarantees you, the next title shot. So for me, really, what's most important is just to get this victory, to make sure that I show levels, to make sure that there's no questions that are unanswered with my performance. No matter the way it goes, it just will show that this man cannot be denied the title.
First of all, I just want to point out Brian Campbell dressed in this interview like a man who had to get escorted at a JCPenney for sniffing women's underwear. I just want to point that out. Putting that aside, Jed, I will say this from Movsar. He's not delusional about what he's up against. He seems to recognize, dude, this is the one. And based on what's happening more recently with, for example, the sort of climate that's around and what the lessons are he's learned from, despite having victories, this very slow ascent to the top of the division. I am at least heartened, and I wonder if you are as well. I'm at least heartened by the fact that we're not talking to a guy on Fight Week who's like, yeah, there's no pressure, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to do what I do. I remember Jose Aldo right around the time where he was fighting Korean Zombie and was like, people are like, don't you need to do more? And he's like, no, I don't need to do shit. You know what I mean? I sort of understand that logic too, but it wasn't necessarily fan pleasing or organizational pleasing. Movsar doesn't seem to be under any delusions this time.
He doesn't. That's why I'm like, maybe he comes in and changes shit up, because he has to, he seems to understand, as you point out, he gets it. And so if you're looking at it, you're left with basically two options. I'm going to win because winning is the most important thing, and I'll let the chips fall where they may. And if that means I still don't get it and eventually I leave the UFC undefeated or whatever, that's fine. Or I'm going to take a little more risk on my plate for this fight. I'm going to try and just up my volume, up my aggression in some way. And if I get got, okay, but if I don't, maybe that is what will get me over the hump, and then they can't deny me, because I think if he gets a finish, like if he doesn't get a finish, I just don't think he's got a chance of getting a title fight, frankly. If he can find a way to be the first dude to beat Lerone Murphy and finish him, then that, to your earlier point, Luke, that's okay. Maybe we have a reason to believe this guy can beat Volk. Maybe we have a reason to believe that this is a guy we can promote and not just suffer through while he's on roster. I don't know. But absent a finish, I really don't think he has a chance. And I think he knows that.
There's a tweet we have from Gene or Jayon Silva that says the following. So Silva says he's flying to London to watch the Evloev and Murphy fight and will sign a contract to fight Volkanovski afterward. Quote, "We're heading out on this trip invited by Hunter and Dana to watch the fight between these two donks up close and to sign the contract for the belt. It's going to be the biggest promotion people have ever seen in history when that contract for the belt gets signed because I'm going to sell this fight. After that boring fight," he's referring to Evloev and Murphy, "I'm going to go up there and hand both of them their termination." All right, that's a little fun. Chances this happens are what?
Really good. Over 50%.
Really over 50?
I think, yeah. Well, I think, I think Evloev probably wins this fight. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. And barring a truly something special, I really don't think the UFC is going to give Evloev a title fight. And I'm not even sure that they would give Lerone Murphy a title fight, unless maybe if Murphy really picos Evloev, they'd be so happy that he took care of the Evloev problem that they would give him one. But I think it is very, very much in play that Jean Silva is fighting Alexander Volkanovski later this year.
I want to be clear. I'm not mad at this fight at all. In fact, I like it a lot. I love it. As you indicated, for all the reasons. But it's also true, Jed, that they made this fight so that they didn't have to give both of them a title shot.
100%. That was the thought. I was like, well, this solves at least one of our problems.
Yes. One way or the other, they cut their problem in half. Quite literally, so that's certainly part of it. Put up this, the graphic of the featherweight rankings that we have here, and you can see where they sit. You've got Movsar at 1.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Lerone sitting at
1 versus 3, and the winner might not get a title fight.
Yeah, the winner might go to someone literally outside the top 5. Can you believe that? I mean, I get it in the case of Yair. But Diego, how is Diego still sitting at 2? Like, what are we fucking doing with these rankings? But in any case, you can kind of see where they're at in this division. So let's game plan this one out here a little bit. How do you think this one goes? Tell me who you think wins, but also gun to your head a little bit on this one. What does the complexion of this fight look like exactly?
I think Movsar wins, and that is a very basic read, but I think it's probably the correct one in this one. Was Lerone Murphy is not a great defensive wrestler. He's gotten taken down just a ton. Now, granted, he's won every fight in which he's given up 1 million takedowns, so he can take some heart there. And he's not the easiest guy to control on the ground either, but I think Movsar is just a better positional grappler than most of the dudes that Murphy has faced. I think the takedowns will come. I am interested to see how they come, though, because Murphy gets back to the fence a lot. I don't know if you notice this. He really does. He doesn't have the sort of stay in space footwork that you would kind of want to see, and maybe would frankly make him better at defending takedowns. But he can be hell on wheels when his back is against the fence. I mean, I know he finished Pico in that position, but even before he got that, he cracked him 4 times with step up knee, with elbows. When his back does hit the electric fence, right, he starts to bring offense back, and you still kind of get taken down off of it. But I think mostly this is going to look like Movsar with light pressure, not super aggressive, coming forward, maybe spaz the hands to get Murphy's hands up, because Murphy really, really keeps a high guard when he's under fire, and then shooting to the hips, and then we're playing a control game on the ground for most of the fight.
I don't disagree with very much of that at all. I generally think it's going to go the distance if it does get stopped. I think Movsar does the stopping. I tend to think it happens a little bit later. within 3. I don't think Murphy's ground game is going to be so unprepared or overwhelmed that this is going to be a natural scenario. Also, that last line of defense, as you saw with Max Holloway, hard to do that against Charles Oliveira, but that is a small place you can command that makes finishing, obviously a little more difficult. And it's not like Movsar's a dynamic finisher to begin with. So they really have to kind of look at it in that way. I don't know that works. I'm not personally expecting a lot of action. I think that it could be spirited at times. I think Murphy can definitely make it interesting at times. And I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that it could go down to the wire 2-2 or something like that. But I just feel like Movsar's probably going to get the job done a little bit better. How that goes in terms of getting a title shot, I don't. Here's the problem, Jed. If they go and do this fight, right, and Movsar wins in the way that I'm describing, where it's clear but it's not dominant, and good fight, but nothing particularly getting the crowd out of their seat, and they do give the title shot to Silva, what does Movsar do then? Wait for the winner of that? Fight Diego Lopez again?
I don't think he gets to wait for anybody ever. I just don't think that's on the cards for him. I assume that he would have to fight. Maybe Diego Lopez is booked, but maybe he fights the Lopez Steve Garcia winner. Maybe he has to just fight way backwards. It's not like the UFC is only moving people up. We just saw they booked Brendan Allen against an unranked dude coming off a win, number 6 in the weight class, man. Like, they'll do anything. So
did I see that they did Brendan Allen versus Edmund Shabazian at the Apex?
Yeah. Yep.
That's
Apex.
a weird. That's a weird fight, right?
He steps in on short notice, does them a solid, puts the boots to RDR, and they're like, take on Edmund Shabazian in the Apex, my guy. Not even in the main event.
Strange.
That's one of the weirder fights they booked. And they booked a lot of real weird ones this year.
Yeah.
So like, Movsar might have to fight anyone. They might be like, hey, dude, sign up for the Kevin Vallejos game. Like that's where you're at now. If he wins that way, I will be really surprised if they give him a title fight. Really surprised if they give him a title fight.
It's a difficult situation because he's got a really tough guy in front of him. But one more time, that's what we're mixing up, presented by Cuervo for every round. Keep it fun. Keep it Cuervo. Big thanks to our friends at Cuervo, by the way. Enjoy responsibly. And we'll be back in studio on April 8th to get us ready for UFC 327, a dynamic card. Certainly, let's knock on wood and hope that holds. So big thanks to our friends at Cuervo, and join us on April 8th for that UFC 327 in-studio preview. All right, let's go to topic number 2. Let's talk about kind of the rest of this card. Before I go to anything else that I have listed on the rundown here, Jed, just overall, how do you feel about the card? We were talking a little bit about this pre-show, I think, before you got here, and our general sense on the pre-show was, if you actually look up and down this card, it's a lot like a lot of UFC cards. It's like, there's an interesting fighter, there's a good fight, there's a lot of trash, here's another interesting good fight. This is the main card as you see, but overall, between this and the prelims, give me your sense about how good this card is.
It would be like a perfectly middle of the road Apex card with a elite main event. As a road show, as a London event, it's fairly poor, but that doesn't mean it won't be fun, right? Like I actually think a lot of these matchups on the prelims will provide good entertainment value, kind of like last week, frankly. And so if that's sort of what you're looking for, I think that it has something to offer in that regard. But there are very few fights with like major stakes going on here. The main event, obviously. The co-main event, no. The feature bout, it's weird. Not that many fights that are meaningful to the long-term like vision of the sport, but I just think they've matched up enough people that will do fun things that, kind of quibble, maybe cut a couple. 13's a lot of fights, but I think we're going to mostly have a good time on Saturday anyway.
Long Island, how full of gems is this card?
They're few and far between. It's another weird bout order where I feel like you can't just be like, tune in for the last 4 fights. Those are the best fights. No, but there's like 4 fights that I like on this card. And like Nathaniel Wood, Lusain Keita, I can't say that guy's fucking name. Either way, that's going to be a fucking banger, I feel like. And
the last 8 fights are good. The last 8 fights are good.
I don't know, dude. Are you like Curtis Campbell, Danny Silva? Just
I
because
actually,
this guy wears
I
pink
love
shorts,
that fight.
We're acting like we're into it. I don't know. I feel
I
like
love
I'm
that
not
fight.
into it.
That fight's going to be incredibly fun.
The Baranchevsky, or however you say his name, against Austin
Baranowski,
Lane.
yeah.
Listen. Hold on. I know he's
Did
dropping
Austin
down
Lane make weight?
Yes.
Yeah, they made weight. Mm-hmm.
But Luana Carolina did not make weight. She missed weight by 8 pounds, and that was her third weight miss in the UFC. So
Bro, it was a 135 fight. She came in at 144. Like what? And by the way, that was after she took all of her clothes off and had to do the cover. Like
shout out RJ Clifford. He pointed this out. Melissa Mullins is crying on the scale as she makes
sobbing.
weight. And he's like, Melissa Mullins has missed weight twice in her UFC career. Like, you can't now sob on the scale when your opponent misses because you made weight. You've missed before. I don't know.
I mean, you can when they miss by 8 and you're like, we're definitely not going to end up fighting and I don't get this paycheck.
I don't know.
I assume that she's crying because she knows that fight's going to get canceled and she's not going to get paid.
Yeah, not going to get paid. That's the issue. True. She's going to get probably. I mean, who will see? Maybe the UFC will do something right by her, but sometimes they do. But all right, so let's talk about this. The rest of this London card, main event. You know, we talked about it. Insane, sensational, but no room for error. Let's say. Here's my question. I'm not hating on this fight. Luke Riley taking on Michael Aswell. I'm not hating on this fight. Luke Riley undefeated, Patty's guy. Hey, let's see what we got with these two. Here's my question to you, Jed. Why is this the co-main event?
The true answer is I don't know. My best guess is it is a combination of the UFC wants to push Luke Riley as an undefeated guy with some hype and they see something in him. And so it's a combination of that and they believe that he will get the O2 popping, right? You know, like we saw this with Patty when Patty first rolled into the UFC. I have no idea if Luke Riley has the same sort of juice in that regard, but like that's the only thing that would make sense to put this fight over the feature bout of the evening because like neither of these two dudes have done anything comparable to what Michael Venom Page has done in the cage.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing more from Luke Riley. He looks like a promising talent.
I like the fight.
Yeah, exactly. I also like the fight. I like that it's on the main card. Sure. It just is real weird to me. And let's tease this out. I'm asking you about the co-main, but then the fight below it. I think we have the graphic of the main card one more time. So then the feature fight, what they would call it, is Venom Page back at welterweight against Sam Patterson. Untangle this for me. We'll get to the back half of the donkery in just a second, but the top half here, why was it arranged this way? Did they wanted to put MVP on the card, right? Because he is a big name in the UK. When he did the Bellator shows, he would sell out. He did the Pokemon celebration. You know, he's gone viral for them. He's an important talent in that market. Okay, fair enough. But they didn't put him in the co-main on what appears to be, or at least nearing or at his last fight with the organization. He's back at welterweight because I guess he couldn't get fights at middleweight. And so here he's just kind of fighting around against a guy who that, like of all the fights I could have picked for MVP, I don't know that this would have been one of them. He's kind of overperformed relative to my expectations within the UFC. Why are things arranged the way they're arranged?
I genuinely don't know. Like I have guesses and the guesses aren't like flattering, but like the only thing that makes sense to me, other than like a little bit of Luke Riley is a very popular guy. And so they want to have that as late in the card as possible, but you could easily swap these two without any problems. You could make an argument Luke Riley should be much lower, but like, I don't think any normal person would be like, yeah, Michael Venom Page can be the co-main event. That makes total sense, right? Even if the Sam Patterson aspect of this is like strange, I still don't really get why this fight is happening. The other factor that maybe is playing here is it seems like he might not be on the best terms with the UFC right now, right? Because, and I don't know what the reason is for that, but it's weird that he's back at welterweight. It seems like he wanted to be back at welterweight, which seems very dumb to me, but not my pig, not my farm, you know? It's his career. He can do what he wants. But like he had some comments earlier this week about it feeling like his career with the promotion has been a little bit weird. And so it maybe is just like, hey, dude, you're coming up to the end of the contract. We can still squeeze some juice out of you in this market, but we don't care enough to really put any effort behind you. We don't see a future with you. And fair enough, he's 40 or whatever, 38, 39. So this is just, we're going to use you in some ways and just kind of run out the tape on this one.
It is indeed strange. I will say in Sam Patterson's benefit, he's riding, I think, not merely a 4-fight win streak, but 4 first-round stoppages all the
He's
way
looked good.
here. The pairing is not necessarily bad, although, Page being kind of ranked, although he's, between divisions in a way, and then Patterson not being there kind of undercuts it to a degree, but not that I think it's necessarily a bad fight. What are the odds for this one? I think you put them on the rundown. Yes, Luke Riley, pretty close fight, -192 to Aswell, +160, pretty competitive. Page, not much different, really. -192, according to our friends at DraftKings. Sam Patterson, +160. Is this any reason to think Aswell or Patterson have how real are they as live dogs?
I don't think Aswell's that real, though I have at least a little bit of interest in the fight because Aswell, he is not a good striker, but he's quite durable. Like Blagioki hit the crap out of him and he just sort of took it. And so I think he can take a beating, but I think he's going to lose that fight cleanly. It's hard to, I feel stylistically that this fight super favors Michael Venom Page, but he's old and Sam Patterson is on a heater. And so you kind of always have to view a guy like that as dangerous, if nothing else. But historically, basically the way you beat MVP is taking him down. Like nobody's really beaten him in a striking battle, Lima a million years ago, but he was also kind of losing. And then it was a weird thing that happened. So his style is just really difficult for even very good strikers to deal with. And so I think Patterson needs to be grappling Patterson, and he's never been a great wrestler. So stylistically, this feels like both odds are correct.
Michael Venom Page, do you think he's done with UFC one way or the other? Whatever the true nature of his dispute with them, he didn't like the matchmaking. It wasn't a good fit. He has had nothing but decisions, not bad fights. That's not what I'm saying, but he has had nothing but decisions. His last finish, one way or the other, was actually his win in Bellator against Koichi Yamauchi. Maybe they're just like, you know what? It doesn't add much for us in the end. Could it be just that?
I think that probably is it, is that they look at him, and if he was a much younger man, I think this would be different, but
right.
I'm sure his overhead is not particularly cheap relative to other fighters. It's not like they gave him a run. If he had run towards the championship and he could be like a Michael Chandler-esque signing for them, I think they would have embraced that. It didn't happen. He took some opportunistic fights up at middleweight. They're nothing to really get excited about. And so I don't know when his contract is up, but I strongly suspect that when his contract is up, he is out and they'll just, not re-sign him. And then he can go and try and get on the next Netflix MMA card, get back into BKFC, maybe do another one there, sort of do the Andrei Arlovsky, I'll go around everything in karate combat and just pick up paychecks and do whatever I do thing.
Yeah, I guess we shall see. Let's look at the back half of this main card if we can here. Okay. All right. Of the back three on the main card, my fight that I'm personally the most interested in is the Dolidze Duncan fight. Christian Leroy Duncan has improved pretty substantially. Dolidze is still good, but fading a little bit. Very quickly, how big of a phoner do you have for, I can never pronounce his name, Baranevsky? I don't know. Against Austin Lane. Baranevsky, however you properly pronounce it, is -600. Austin Lane at +440. Austin Lane coming down from heavyweight. Remember, he got smoked by Greg Hardy on Contender Series. Coming down to light heavyweight. Probably going to be a first-round stoppage one way or the other, right?
It's going to be first round stoppage one way. We don't need to put this or the other as if it's going to be a surprise. Austin Lane gets knocked out, and now he's a big dude. The biggest question I have for this fight was, is Austin Lane going to make weight? Because he is not a small man. He's 6'6". And so it's I don't know. Apparently, Long Island, you say he made weight. I don't know if he looked good, bad, whatever, but this was not a durable man when he wasn't cutting weight. Now he's cutting weight. I strongly anticipate he is going to end up face down within the first 4 minutes of this bout. And that's fine. Does that need to be on the main card? We could argue about that, but it's not going to take up too much of our time and we'll get a fun KO. So hurrah.
I was gonna say, not only did he make weight, he hit 205 on the dot. So he didn't even use the
Statement.
extra pound. Yeah,
Championship weight.
Holy shit. Impressive. That'll be fun for as long as it lasts, which is to say probably not that long. Then you get to the one that I like the most. He's a pretty heavy favorite, but I just think it's
Luke Austin Lane has 7 losses. I just looked this up. 7 losses, 6 by knockout. Like there's not a surprise in what's coming.
yeah, fair enough. And who knows how much more he's diminished by the weight cut, you know?
Jesus.
Like, forget it. All right, Roman Dolidze plus 350 at Christian Leroy Duncan minus 455. I got to tell you, CLD has slowly put himself together as something pretty interesting. He goes into this fight against the ranked Dolidze as the heavy favorite. Do you agree with the odds makers?
The odds seem really long, but I have a major caveat there, which and maybe explains why the odds are this way. If you're looking just on accomplishment, right? Like, and even a little bit stylistically, CLD shouldn't be this big a favorite. The big question, the big concern, I think maybe some of the reason is like, dude, how do you come back from the type of soul-crushing ass whooping that Dolidze took last time out? Like, how do you rebound when Fluffy Hernandez steals your goddamn soul? Because like usually when a fighter takes a loss like that, they don't rebound super well. If he can, like if he's mentally strong or whatever, just like it doesn't really consider it, then I think this is a very competitive fight. I would favor CLD certainly, but I do really like this matchup. I just have major concerns about like, is Dolidze just going to be a broken man because Fluffy beat the soul out of him?
Granted, he did have a nice win in 2025 before that, so it's not like he's necessarily been fading, but that was a bad one getting stopped in the 4th round, if memory serves. But I'll say this, CLD is 30. He's not beaten anyone this good, so this would definitely be a high water mark for him, but the odds makers seem to think he's all about it. Curtis Campbell's undefeated at 8-0, taking on Danny Silva. People are Long Island. Are you high on this one, or was it who was high on this one between you two?
I mean, I didn't mean to
one.
use this fight as an example. I was just being like, come on, are we really? I don't know. I'm not high on Curtis Campbell. Maybe I will be after this fight. Danny Silva, durable, as Jed mentioned, just went the distance with Vijay, but I still feel like I don't know. Neither guy is much.
Curtis Campbell straight up looks like a guy you've seen work every drive-through at every fast food restaurant in America. You would never believe he's a prize fighter. Why are you so high on this fight, Jed?
I think they're both good prospects. I rated them both very highly coming off Contender Series. Curtis Campbell is a little Patty Pimblett-ish in that like he's got some aura that people attach to. He's getting custom shorts as a debuting fighter, which obviously is not a thing that happens. He's got some limitations that he will need to overcome, and especially like he's not the most athletic dude, but he's a pretty fun fighter already, right? And I think a good prospect. I really like Danny Silva, and I feel like people just don't think of him because he lost consummately to Kevin Vijayos. He went 15 with him. Josh Emmett went 4 minutes. He is a good fighter who probably is like his ceiling is probably that sort of Dan Ige tier, but like great boxing plus athlete. I like the way these two mesh and match up. I think Danny Silva is a very live dog here, frankly, but I just like, if you're going to give me bad fights or fights that people don't know about, these are the ones I want, where it is real prospects matching up and not watch this kind of prospect like Baranushki put a guy who shouldn't be on roster out to pasture. Like that fight is at least, has something, but like, I don't care really about that. This fight I care about.
Well, the top 3 on the prelim card to me are really maybe
awesome.
Some of the best fights on this card. Mason Jones, 17-2, was in the UFC, had a bit of a sojourn, came back and has looked pretty good since returning, taking on Axel Sola out of Aries FC. That's the French promotion, who's undefeated. He looks like the real deal. Holyfield had a nice win over, granted, a very beatable opponent in his first UFC event, but I like that fight at 155 a lot, Jed. Nathaniel Wood taking on Losin Kaita. This is a hugely anticipated one. Kaita was a double champ for a while. Here he is making his UFC debut after a couple of fits and starts. And then the other one, Mario Pinto, the heavyweight, undefeated out of Portugal, taking on Felipe Franco at 10-1 out of Brazil. Those 3 fights, I love all of those. All of those have value to me. Which of them are your favorite?
Explain to me why the heavyweight fight has value. Because outside of it being heavyweights, like I think this is the longest odds on the card.
Pinto looks to me like a real heavyweight prospect.
I agree.
Now, Franco, I don't know what kind of challenge he's going to be, but Pinto needs some seasoning anyway. I'm interested in seeing what I mean, there are hardly any heavyweight prospects. When one emerges, it's worth for me, seeing what they're up to. This is a good chance to do that.
You just want to watch Mario Pinto put somebody to the sword. Got it. Okay. Because that's what's going to happen in here. It is going to be a straight execution. I love both of the other two fights. I think the one you have to pick in this, like if you're going to ask me to pick which one, you got to go Los Keita, right? Like I'm curious about Axel Sola because he is accomplished, but I don't know how good he is. And Mason Joe, like these feel like the same fight to me in some respects of like Mason Jones and Nathaniel Wood both sort of feel similar, but Wood's a better version of Mason Jones, right? And Axel Sosa is like a slightly worse version of Los Keita, where accomplished on a regional circuit, a champion in another organization, has some tools, has shown something to get interested in. But like, I don't know how much. With Keita, he's shown much more. Nathaniel Wood is a better fighter than Mason Jones. So if I'm picking between those two, definitely give me that, because I mean, since moving up to featherweight, Wood is super weird because he is very clearly small for this weight class, but also he has been quite good at 145, like without the weight cut that was apparently too difficult at 135. And, you know, an all-arounder, he's going to test every phase of the game against Keita, who I kind of want to see what he's got like on this stage.
The back half, I should say the early 4 fights on the prelim card is where, you know, dreams go to die. I don't have any particular interest in any of these with the exception. I like Shamrock. He seems like an interesting dude, but short of that, I just don't really care. Long Island, are we missing anything in those first 4 that is of value to you?
Well, first of all, I'm devastated that Luana Carolina Melissa Mullins is canceled. You know, that was my favorite fight of the night. Brando Pericic, guys, a fucking Aussie. Come on. Undefeated in the UFC so far, going against Louis Sutherland. Anyone?
Can you tell me who he defeated in the UFC?
Can I tell you who he defeated in the UFC? Yeah, Jed, if you give me a minute to look up.
If you look it up, you can.
All I remember is it was on the Perth card. I know that much. And yeah, you know, Aussie prospect. Let's go. They're hot right now.
Yeah, I'm good.
No, I pay attention to Chanel Dyer on the prelims. I don't know if she's going to be good, but you were just talking about heavyweight needing prospects. Every weight class in women's MMA needs prospects.
Yeah.
I think Chanel Dyer's 24. She looked pretty good on Contender Series. She's allegedly a Muay Thai champion. I don't follow Muay Thai enough. Like, you got to go to Lucas Borden or something to know if it's a real Muay Thai championship or, some nonsense one. But like, she's at least somebody who's young and shows something. And in the women's weight classes at this point, that is super necessary for us to have some of those.
Yeah. Her and her opponent, Carol Foro, they fought in September of 2025. And haven't fought since, so it's I'm sure they're aching to get out there and make their debut. This will be the debut against Havana Oliveira, who missed weight by half a pound. So we'll see how that goes for her. All right, that is the UFC London event, but that's not the first event, actually, or the only event either that we're going to see. Oh, you know what? Hold on, did I miss one here? Photo of Riley's debut KO. What is the photo of Riley's debut KO before I move on? Let me see it. Do we have it? There it is. Oh, this is why Luke Riley was being big upped because he's KO and Donks and he's Patty's guy, right?
He's got that Patty juice behind him.
And we can skip the CLD clip, but thank you for pulling that just the same. Long Island. All right, let's talk about the PFL. So the PFL event is today. In fact, I think it starts in like 5 minutes or something, or maybe in an hour. It's in Madrid, which is maybe my favorite place in the entire world. Madrid, Spain. In the main event, Costello Van Steenis is going to face off with, there's the card right there. In the upper left-hand corner is your main event. The middleweight champion, the PFL middleweight champion, Costello Van Steenis, is going to face off against Fabian Edwards. And obviously, this is important, Jed, because it's the first of many fights in a row that the PFL is going to be staging. It's for their PFL title. It's also a rematch from these two from Bellator. But I guess my question is, I can tell you what it means. Oh, it's for the PFL middleweight title. But my question to you is, in 2026, what does that mean? What does it mean to be the PFL middleweight champion? It obviously means something. It's certain value to it. They're headlining a fight. What is it exactly?
Dude, that's a really good question.
Hard to say.
Because
let me add one more detail, which is back in the day, there was always debate and there was no way to really solve the debate. But there were times where someone could be like a Strikeforce middleweight champion, or I'll make something up, Strikeforce champion of some kind. And you could be like, that's actually the best middleweight in the world. Like that guy is, he has a claim to it. No one thinks that here. So what is it? You know what I mean?
I mean, not even certain, but probably the best middleweight outside of the UFC. Not certain that that's true, but like in other weight classes, it would obviously not be true. Like if the PFL welterweight championship, like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, that's not it. But like here, it's probably the best middleweight outside of the UFC. Probably means you're somewhere in the neighborhood of a top 10, top 15. Like if you poured it over, that would seems about correct. But like it's just tough going right now for PFL because I have genuine concerns about their long-term viability, not even like long-term, like short-term viability, because they do a lot of events in an area of the world where they probably aren't going to get to do events there and get those site fees and that money. And so how does that affect like them as a business? I don't know. And they've hemorrhaged talent. They've added talent, right? But they've lost most of their big names. And, there are a lot of things that I respect about this card and about what they're doing here, but we might have passed the point of no return as far as like, does the PFL matter in the context of the sport?
If I read to you the top 10 in UFC, right? Obviously, no one thinks they're better than Hamzat here, or Dricus, or Imavov. Strickland, probably not Izzy either. Certainly not Bahalio.
Izzy's the first one I at least have to question because he's so faded.
He's older now. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Kaio, no. I think Kaio beats both of these guys. Yeah. Brendan Allen can be flaky, so maybe, but he's number 6. 7 is Anthony Hernandez. I think Fluffy beats both of these guys.
Correct.
8 is DeRitter. I could see a world where one of them might beat him. Maybe Whitaker's at 9, although he might be going Cannonier at 10. Here's the thing.
So it's top 10.
Yeah, top 10, I think, is about where this puts the winner, right? Something, but not even then, it's not really a shoe-in either,
No, but like, because I think if Eblin came over, he would also be in that sort of same, these guys are top 20 middleweights in the world. And so they are fighting for the title of who's the best one, not under a UFC contract right now, which is not as good as like back when we were like, man, maybe Johnny Eblin is the best middleweight in the world. It was one of those situations where Johnny Eblin was the guy who's like, you could tell yourself a story that he's the best middleweight in the world. He's not going to really be able to prove it, but then he loses to Van Steenis and nobody was like, Van Steenis is the guy. It's like, oh, Johnny just definitely wasn't the best middleweight in the world then.
Yeah. You know what really drives me crazy about modern MMA promotions? Like, there's plenty of slimy things you could accuse Eddie Hearn of doing, for example. But one thing he's really good at that I don't think a lot of people appreciate is like during fight week, and maybe even before it, but if he's setting up a fight, Jed, but like, especially on fight week, but in many instances, he'll do this. He'll define the terms of why this fight is important. He'll make a claim about how you should understand. Here's why we're making this fight. We're making this fight because X, Y, Z. These are the reasons, and this is why it's important. And what it ends up happening is it ends up putting the debate into the fandom about whether it's true, whether they agree, whether they disagree, but it ends up just kind of framing how everyone understands it. And one of the things that just drives me kind of nuts about the PFL is, and UFC does this kind of to an extent too, honestly. It's not just PFL, but PFL is really bad about it. They don't tell you anything. They don't ever tell you like why this fight matters. Okay, it's a rematch. Fair enough. It's for a title. Cool. How else are we to understand what's going on here? How else are we to interpret any of these facts? And they just don't say anything. They just let fights happen. And I understand it's happening in Madrid. This fight's not even available to our Canadian friends. I get it.
Is that true?
So it's not like the highest priority in that sense. But hello, it's one of your weight class titles. Like, it's not irrelevant either. It drives me nuts how asleep at the wheel modern MMA promotions are in defining the terms of the conversation on Fight Week.
Every modern MMA, not every, but most modern MMA promotions are quite bad at promoting fights. The UFC is bad at promoting fights. They're just in charge of it. They own the game, so it does not matter, right? And if they try, they can sometimes put some juice behind it. But again, I mean, we talked about this earlier. This is the most undefeatedest fighters fighting on Saturday, and they're not promoting this event for shit because they don't care. PFL is not in a position where they can afford to not promote, and whatever promotion means to them, it is not broadly appeal to the American viewing market. That's just, I'm not in their boardrooms. I don't know what their business strategy is, but it's very clear that it's not try to be the best viewing product for the North American Western Hemisphere audience, because they don't do anything that would help them in that regard. And so, yeah, because I mean, the fighters themselves have tried to add a little juice because there is some genuine bad blood here. They've fought before. They don't like each other, they've said some mean things, but that none of that has come from a PFL branded way to do this, because it just doesn't seem to be who they are, which is real bad. They should be better at this.
Let's take a look at this face-off that they had this week between Van Steenis and Edwards. It's a good face-off. Van Steenis has got the look, certainly. These two fought previously in Bellator. Van Steenis was the winner. This will now be a rematch. And let's take a look, if we can, at the scorecards. So here is how it went the first time. Van Steenis wins 28-27, 29-28, and then 29-28 went to Edwards. So it was a split decision here. Douglas Crosby, what can you say about his
feeling
fucking
himself?
Scorecards? Just the worst. He's just so unbearable. But in any case, if you watch the first fight, Jed, it's I'm not sure how to describe it. Not a lot happens. It's during the pandemic, so a lot of people on the outside wearing masks and stuff. It's kind of quiet in the facility. Van Steenis just kind of did more. He ended up in mount in second round. That was pretty good. They kind of pawed from the outside a lot early on. It wasn't a huge difference in ability between them, and not an easy way to describe this. It just kind of feels to me like I think Fabian is a little slicker than Van Steenis, but Van Steenis is a little bit more like the guy to grab the fight by the scruff of the neck and just kind of make it his. Is that how you read it?
A little bit. I want to ask you a question, because when I was thinking about this fight, I spent way more time thinking about this fight than I think most people did, because it was I don't know. I felt some sense of obligation, I guess. So I was this is the best PFL can do. We should try to care. What would you say Costello Van Steenis' thing is? What's, because I have an answer. It took me a minute to come up with an answer, but I really had to think what jumps off the page at you about Costello Van Steenis?
I have struggled with this. I'd say
I had to really think about it.
Yeah, you put me on the spot. He's physical. He tends to take charge in fights. Now, and against Eblen, I realized that he was more opportunist at the end there than he was leading the charge. But in general, I don't know. For me, I don't know what I would say about his style. Where are you going to go with this?
As I went back and watched, and I will credit to PFL on this, but it actually was very easy to watch most of these men's previous fights.
Yes,
either
they put a
in
lot on
Bellator
their
or
YouTube
PFL,
channel.
put a lot up on YouTube, which was great, because currently it's a pain in the ass to watch UFC fights for the most part, because Paramount sucks and not everything's on Fight Pass. So you're really having to piecemeal your way to get to other fights. So credit to you, PFL. That was really good. As I was watching it, he's a little bit of an all-arounder. He can kind of do everything. But what stuck out to me, and this was most evident in the Eblen fight, is he doesn't get deterred, right? You can be beating his ass for a long time and he will just dust himself off and keep doing stuff. And even if, I throw a counter, and I got hit, I throw a jab and I get cross countered, I'll keep doing it. And that sort of stubbornness honestly also manifested itself in the first fight with Fabian Edwards, where it's like, to your point, he just sort of did a little bit more because he kind of stubbornly chopped wood the whole time. And it's not like the best superpower to have in fight sports. You'd rather be a dynamic finisher or whatever, but that is admirable. And it allowed him to pull off the submission of the year last year and this sort of epic comeback against Johnny Edlin. And my guess is it is good enough to beat Fabian Edwards this time around, similarly, because he will maybe not grab the fight by the scruff of the neck, but simply be doing enough where Fabian Edwards will be waiting for more opportunities that don't always avail themselves.
In the co-main event is also one of the best fights that is on the calendar anywhere, in my opinion. And AJ McKee, going up against Adam Boric. Let's look at the face-off here very quickly. Pretty intense between these two Bellator veterans. AJ McKee, if you can believe it, has now reached the age of 30, a guy who's been around for such a long time. Pretty decent turnout, I got to say, in Spain for this. How do you size these two up? By the way, our friends at DraftKings, they've got McKee as a heavy favorite, minus 415, Boric plus 290. By the way, on the main event, it's a goddamn pick 'em, minus 105 for Van Steenis, minus 115 for Edwards.
This fight should be really fun. I think the odds are correct. I think AJ is going to win. AJ McKee at featherweight is one of the better featherweights in the world. Now he's getting a little older. He's been doing this for a long time. I really would like to see him in the UFC, frankly. His forays to lightweight, he obviously also had success, but I think that this is the best weight class for him, right? And Boric is one of those dudes. Like, Boric to me is the classic Bellator fighter of like, here is a guy who is quite good. He will win a lot of fights. He probably will lose some, and by nature of being in Bellator, he'll get to fight for a belt or whatever. But he'll just be kind of underrated writ large, because he is fighting in Bellator and he is not the guy. But he's still, like, if you walked into a gym, Adam Boric is one of those dudes who you might not know, but like you walk into a gym and suddenly he's working your ass over, right? Like, he's just a very, very, very solid fist fighter. And so I'm pretty pumped about this fight. Like, I think it will be good. I do think AJ he's more athletic. He's more dynamic. And I think that gives him the run of play in this, but Boric is going to scrap with him the whole time.
I couldn't have said it better. I feel like AJ is a better athlete. I feel like he's beaten better people. I feel like he's got more tools, but Boric is persistent. He's experienced. He always comes prepared. He's got the ability to work behind the jab some of the kickboxing in general. It should be fun for as long as it lasts. Someone could go the distance. I don't know if AJ necessarily puts him away, but that could be fun. Now it leads me.
The only question is if AJ gets like to the back early, yeah, right. Because he's very dangerous from that position.
Fair enough.
Otherwise, I think we're in for a good little scrap.
Let's take a look at this graphic here, Jed. This is the calendar for PFL coming up. Now, this is not their first event this year. They had the previous rematch between Hughes and Nurmagomedov, but there was a big gap between that and this. This is kind of the real unofficial launch of the calendar. And of course, you can see it top left corner. That's where we are today. And you go down vertically and then left to right. These are all the events. So you got the one in Pittsburgh. That's next week. They're going to PFL Africa not far thereafter. Then there's going to be the one in Chicago the day after. So, right there in April. And then you got 3 in a row, April 11th, the 16th, and the 2nd and the 8th of May. And then finally in the 23rd. Now that one, some of these will be overseas. Some of these are landlocked. So that's not necessarily a full continuation of just one kind of thing. But it's kind of the kickoff on their calendar. A lot of overseas. Wait, put that back up.
Or are you noticing the MENA one? That's definitely not going to happen.
Arabia, we'll see about that shit.
I was wondering if you were going to know.
Yeah, we'll see about that. And that's a huge thing. Like, the UFC can afford to lose. I mean, I'm sure it would be extremely not great for them to lose events in Qatar, to lose events in Saudi Arabia or the Emirates, but it's not going to kill them. I don't know about PFL. With PFL, you lose those and it might do them a world of hurt. But in any case, it's kind of the unofficial launch of the upcoming calendar. Is there anything that this event needs to do to make this campaign better? Is when you look at this campaign, how do you feel about it? This is kind of the unofficial launch. So give me your sense of what's to come in the PFL experience.
Dude, I don't know. It's like they're doing the best they can. And so at some point you gotta tip your hat and say, hey, at least you're out here trying. And some of the fights that are already booked and stuff, like I'm pretty pro them doing back-to-back events. And I know technically it's not back-to-back because one's PFL Africa and one's in Chicago or whatever, but like that's probably not the way to go for you. You should probably split your weekends up a little better than that. But I mean, they're doing solid enough work. They're going to places that largely the UFC hasn't gone to that much, right? Like they went to Chicago a couple of years ago, but was it 2 years ago the UFC went to Chicago or last year? But so if they can go to
They went
that,
there with DDP and Hamzat.
oh, is that in Chicago? Okay, so in the last year, but like they're going to some good locations. They're putting on the best fights they can put on, which is a little tough. And I do want to circle back to this one because I don't think it can be stated enough. Going to Spain with the Spaniard, that is good promotion, right? Like that is how you should do this. The UFC hasn't taken and probably never will take Ilia Topuria to Spain, and that sucks. So credit to him for trying, but this year in total kind of feels like, I mean, there have been big transitions in the corporate side of things already. It just sort of feels like this might just be the death rattle year for them.
I mean, I'll say this. When promotions die, my experience has been that unless they get bought out by UFC and then absorbed, they tend to die rather slowly. People keep asking, like, what can they do to change their fortunes and blah, blah, blah. Nothing. There's nothing they can do. So they could change their business model, and that might be a little bit different. They could become something other than what they are trying to be, and maybe that will help. It could become a regional powerhouse somewhere that is potentially doable. But there's nothing. It doesn't. So I don't want to indulge in these fictions about like, oh, what do they have to prove to be the world's number 2? It doesn't. There's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. At the same time, I would like to see this campaign, Jed, be at least somewhat successful or stand out or even get some critical or fan acclaim, because I think they're finally trying to do things the right way. I think they've got a simplified business model. Well, there's still some problems with it, but relative to how it was, it's certainly simplified. They're going to like markets of need, or areas where I think they can thrive. They've got there's some of their expenses under control. Like it's a smoother operation now. I'd like to see that rewarded in some kind of way, but like, what does it ultimately lead to? The same thing that doing the opposite would lead to, the end. It doesn't. It cannot be. People refuse to accept the reality of what it means to be dominated in an industry by a monopoly. But one way or the other, this is only going to go, to the same destination.
But dude, like you said, this is the stuff we've at least asked for them for,
right.
And it might be too late, but like they're taking Pettis to Chicago. That's good. We're going back to, they should basically do every event in Belfast, right? Like they're just going back to Belfast. Like they're taking their, such that they have them stars and putting them in the best locations and opportunities to succeed. And I am like you. I genuinely hope that they catch lightning in a bottle somehow, because it would be much better if they can continue to build on this and this isn't the year that they go down.
All right. Let's go to topic number 4. And I'm going to use the word complete here is doing some heavy lifting. Okay, Jed? So let's just work with what we have for the purposes of today's topic. But here's a simple question. Now, it's not apples to apples because one event is 6 fights and one event is 5 fights on a main card, or we'll see how it ends up going. But we're just going to kind of compare which card is better. The Netflix card that's headlined by Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano, or UFC White House, because we kind of got these filled out. So first, let's look at the UFC White House card one more time as a way to just refresh our memory. So we have obviously the unification of the interim and the regular title between Topuria and Gaethje. Poatan and Gane are fighting for the interim heavyweight title. O'Malley versus Zahabi, Houfi versus Chandler, Nickel versus Dawkins, and then Lopez versus Garcia. Here is how we understand the MVP card. So the top 3 are, as you can see here, Rousey Carano, and Ngannou versus Lins, and now Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. The 2 other fights that we believe are going to be added to the card are going to be former Bellator / PFL fighters. This one kind of bangs, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Lorenz Larkin taking on Jason Jackson. That's going to be fun. And then the other one that is people are fucking sleeping on, Saladin Parnasse, a guy who tried to become a triple champ in KSW, still in his 20s, Frenchman, taking on a guy whose last fight I called, Kenny the Boss Cross, who to me, Jed, how he has not been signed to the UFC is of genuine fucking mystery. I do not understand it. It's like you need all the American prospects you can get. This guy satisfies that times 10. I don't know what is going on there, but okay, he might get to fight Saladin Parnasse on Netflix. Rate him. Which card is better?
I mean, it's a ludicrous question. Look, I think I am the person who hates the White House card more than anyone in this space. And it would be categorically insane to suggest that the MVP card is better. It's bigger. It has bigger names. It's going to do much more views. But like, even like I hate most of the fights on the White House card, and you can trash me for that, and that's fine. They are all objectively very, very good fights, like elite level tiering of fights. So this is not a contest when we're talking about pure quality. Now, one of these might be less weird because it's not happening on the White House lawn, you know, but like, yeah, if we're talking actual quality, like, would you rather eat this day old leftover cheeseburger or filet mignon? Give me the fucking steak, man.
I don't think that's the right comparison. I would say filet mignon versus Five Guys is a better way to look at that.
I mean, Five Guys is delicious. So
that's the
clear.
problem. That's the problem. Like no one would say Five Guys is better than your Peter Luger's, filet mignon, but they might still pick the cheeseburger over the filet mignon. So if the question is not about objective quality and the question is about fan service, which one is better?
If it's about fan service, it is probably that's very, very close because which fans, like the fans watching this show right now, the answer is still White House, right? Like, because you have enough names that people love Poatan, people love Ilia Topuria. So you're still going to get White House. But like, if you're just talking about every donk out there, like just the total random people, it's 100% the Netflix card. Now, especially once it added Nate Diaz, like it still would have been before because people know who Ronda Rousey is and most normal humans don't know who Ilia Topuria is. But like you add Nate Diaz and this thing has so much more Q rating on the MVP card. And again, it's on Netflix, so it's much more accessible, less barrier of entry. Nobody has to feel weird about the potential political parts of it. So if you're talking the whole of humanity, MVP. Just real MMA fans, it's still the UFC.
So let's put up the White House card and when we think about like bangers on this one. So like Lopez Garcia, it's hard to see how that one's not entertaining, right? Just very, very difficult. Nickel versus Dawkins.
That fight is my favorite fight on the card.
Which one?
I love the Lopez Garcia. I love that fight.
Very difficult to see how that one's bad. Very difficult. Nickel versus Dawkins, I certainly think is likelier than not to be good, but there's a world where not necessarily, right? Like Nickel has stunk up the joint a couple of times, and possible you could get something like that here, right?
It's a good fight. It's like it just feels the weirdest because everybody else is ranked and good, and this is Bo Nickel, who obviously the UFC is behind, and Kyle Dawkins, who got cut from the promotion like a year and a half ago, is suddenly fighting on the White House card. It's the strangest in that regard, but the fight itself, like on the merits, is totally good. I think it probably will be competitive. Dawkins has looked quite good since returning. But like that, of all the fights, that might be the one with the biggest opportunity to be a snoozer.
That's right. I don't think it will be bad,
Yeah.
but if there is one that could be, it'd be this one. Put the card back up.
That'd be where to put your money.
Yeah. Hoovy versus Chandler is just going to be
Fun.
probably an execution, right? I mean,
yeah, but like Michael Chandler dies well, so that'll be fun.
but this is the thing. Just leave the card up if you can. This is the thing. People being like, "Oh, all the fights on the MVP card are meaningless," and I'm not here to say that they aren't, But like Hoofy versus Chandler, okay. I mean, it has some relevance, obviously, but like that is, that is. It's the scene in Jurassic Park where they feed the goat to the T-Rex. I mean, this is not exactly like a big mystery about how that one's going to go. I guess we'll see. O'Malley versus Zahabi, I don't think it has a lot of like sizzle, but it's very, very competitive. And then
it's genuinely the funniest fight I think the UFC's ever made, in my opinion.
Okay,
Like,
it's got merit, but it's got zip.
It's a very good fight.
Yeah,
very good fight.
And then the top two, they're not perfect fights, but it's very difficult to complain about them. The MVP card to me, I mean, if they do Saladin Parnasse versus Kenny Cross, I think that's a very good fight. Jackson versus Larkin won't necessarily deliver, but that won't be bad. But dude, how does Diaz versus Perry suck? Like, again, high level to the best of what the modern best practices are. No, we're talking fun. Fan service. How does that not deliver? Francis is, again, that could suck because Felipe could make that a little bit of a grind fest, but in all likelihood, he should decapitate him. And then Ronda versus Gina just is not going to go past the first round one way or the other. I will tell you this, like, I actually think both cards will deliver as fights, but it should not be a surprise if on the fan service side, you get higher marks for the MVP card.
Yeah, almost certainly, because fans know people more. Like the Nate Diaz Mike Perry matchup is so smart. I didn't even conceive that it was possible, which makes me feel like the stupidest man alive. Because when they first announced this, like we played the game, it was like, what other fight should be on this? And came up with like some okay choices and still some fights that they could add to this card. I don't think they should add too many. But like, it never even crossed my mind that this was an option. And as soon as they announced it, I was like, oh, these people aren't dumb. Like it's the perfect fight. Both it brings a lot of eyeballs that like people know Nate Diaz, people know Mike Perry. It brings a level of excitement that the other fights might not, right? Like we think they'll be fun, but as you said, this one is guaranteed. And it also brings like their next press conference. Their first press conference was, wow, this is kind of weird, right? Like, look, Ronda and Gina and Francis and all of this, but there wasn't any real juice to that press conference because these aren't the best talkers. Ronda's the best of them, and she is in her kumbaya phase with, I'm just doing great things for my friend Gina, who I love and respect. And that's fine, but like you put the next presser has Mike Perry and Nate Diaz, it'll be 40 minutes late, and someone will throw something, probably several beverages, and it'll be awesome. This was like the perfect addition. And then you fill it out with Saladin Parnasse. I don't know about this Cross dude. Apparently you do. But like Saladin Parnasse absolutely rocks. The Bellator fight that is essentially filling out is one for the hardcore fans. You add one or two more pieces. I've been pitching Akamoto, the Rising Kid, to loan him out, let him put somebody to the sword or fight like a Brendan Loughnane. We could cook with real gas for the MVP card.
You think PFL should like do some kind of swap with them?
Dude, if they can. Like, I mean, I don't know why MVP would do it. Like who? Like you got to give me a specific. Like who could they get?
I don't know who they could get. But I'm saying
like if they could get Dakota Ditcheva for like, hey, we'll loan you Ditcheva out. Yeah, PFL should absolutely do.
Yeah, that would be huge. That would be really big. Especially because that's the other part about this card, right? It's the women's fight at the top, and then it's just all dudes all the way down. I'm not saying you have to have a bunch of women on it, but I'm saying if you had a spotlight on one other one, that would actually be pretty.
That'd be big business for both sides, frankly.
Yeah, it'd be a real torch passing kind of thing too, honestly. But PFL is probably not going to play ball in that way. In any event, something to think about as we get closer. I really do hope that they make the Kenny Cross, that they announce it soon. That Kenny Cross thing is just, to me, unbelievable. One last note on this: look at these ticket prices. First, let's go to the NFL. This is the MVP ticket prices. So we're looking at section, the terrace, row 6 and section 5, $64.20. Look at this exact same place for the last UFC card that was there. Same basic positioning. I believe it's the same one or pretty close to it. And it's 10 times the price.
This isn't the last UFC card there, Luke. This is the upcoming Newark UFC.
Oh, this is the upcoming
28
Newark
card.
one.
It's just
Okay.
a comparable UFC card.
Yeah, so
That
not
is-
exactly commensurate, not same venue, roughly commensurate in terms of the same place, outer bowl, top row, or row 6 in the same outer bowl. Roughly 10 times the price, bro.
Tickets are that fucking expensive for the
Dude,
UFC now?
I was telling this to someone else. Like, I like to go. I've been to every game in town. I've seen the Commanders. I've seen the DC United play. I've seen everybody play. The best ticket in town, pound for pound for me, is to go see the Washington Capitals. It's just a thrilling ticket, right?
Live
But, dude,
hockey is the best. So
It's just the best. It's just the best. But dude, if you want anything, if you want anything that's not the 400s, so anything 300 or down, bare minimum, it's $250 a person. Bare minimum. And they play how many games a year? Like, it's not just the UFC, but in this particular case, 600s for the fucking bleeders. Dude,
Dude, that's
that is
so
a
expensive.
crime. That's
You
a
just
crime.
priced out any fan. Like that is. And I know that this is happening across sports, that this is not specifically germane to the UFC. I didn't realize the price were that high. That is incredibly expensive.
I don't make bad money. I cannot afford that. That to me,
I can
if
do that as my thing for the quarter.
Yeah, here's a birthday gift to myself. I could do or something like that. But
Dude, that's
hey,
to take you on a date. Shit, man.
No, because then there's plus there's if you're going to Newark, money to park, the concessions, any merch you might buy, dude, you're out 15 fucking hunch.
Dude, I might as well fucking fly to Spain and watch the PFL, which I assume is much cheaper to get a ticket to.
Dude, hey, Long Island, can you look up tickets? How many euros the ticket to the PFL tonight would be?
Yeah, I'll look it up.
That'd be cool.
I mean, honestly, instead of spending $1,500 to go to Newark, which is fucking Newark, and watch a UFC, you could literally fly to Madrid, have a couple of days in Madrid, and then watch a PFL card. I know which one of those I would pick.
Yeah, that's not a very difficult call. All right, last but not least, let's go to topic number 5. We'll just do the latest on the UFC White House.
Cheapest ticket right now is $47 to the Madrid card.
God damn, what a deal!
How much
You're
is
in
a good
Madrid?
ticket?
Go to that.
So
How
the
much
only
is a
two
good-
ticket there's only 2 tickets available, and honestly, they all look good. It looks like a really small venue. There's a $47 ticket and a $67 ticket. So
Hell
either way, you're
This is
golden.
what I mean, dude. It used to be.
I
it'd
bet
be
you're gonna have so much fun if you go to that thing.
Oh, dude, can you imagine the concessions at a place like that? I took the train one time from Madrid to Barcelona, and I forgot to get food before I went, so I was just on the train. I was like, well, I'll just eat on the fucking train. And I thought it'd be like Amtrak, where you're just giving you shit in a wrapper. Bro, they gave me a baguette with jamon in the middle, and it was like
Nice.
it was like the best bread and fucking ham I'd ever had in my life. I couldn't believe how good it was,
Bags.
Anyway.
Get some tapas, watch some fist fights. Hell yeah.
And have money left over. Like, what the fuck are they doing? It's crazy. All right. Last but not least, let's end on some UFC White House talk. All right. So here's the interesting part. Jed, you're a lawyer. So the UFC announced yesterday that they're not going to be using the local DC City Commission. They're going to be relying on the Association of Boxing Commissions in a, as you can see here from the press release, quote, unified regulatory body that oversees and supports the safety, integrity, hee-haw, and standardization of professional boxing and MMA events in the United States, will serve as an independent third party to advise on the regulatory operations for the unprecedented UFC event scheduled for Sunday, June 14th. This, of course, will be at the White House. Now, the interesting part about this thing, Jed, is that, well, the DC Commission is not particularly happy about it. These are more, comments from Hunter Campbell and Mark Ratner, various officiants, or I should say, executives within the UFC family. But the DC Commission spoke out against this. They're pretty bitter. Here's what they say from reporting from Severe MMA, and this is from Sean Sheehan. Quote, this is from Andrew Huff, the guy who runs the DC Commission. Quote, I am disappointed that the ABC, which represents commissions across the United States, including the District of Columbia, has chosen to ignore our commission's laws and authority. It sets a dangerous precedent for all commissions and the industry as a whole. 2 problems with this, Jed, right? First of all is if the UFC does this, which they're gonna, what is the argument for any promoter going to any part of federal land and being like, whatever state or city they're in, you don't have jurisdiction here? I don't know what the answer would be. But then there's a second component here. Well, actually, let's start there. What do you make of this worry?
Dude, this was so out of left field where it was just like, oh, because the DC commission is, it is a unique scenario with what you can host on that event or whatever. And then the UFC is like, what if we just go over your head? And I just never saw this coming. And then you pair this with the latest amendments to the Ali Revival Reform Act, or whatever the hell they call that thing. And it just seems like state athletic commissions are getting the shaft, is my not super deep dive onto that, but that kind of feels like what's happening. And the ABC has decided it is just going to be in charge of everything in a much more granular way than they have been before.
It was so funny when the Association of Boxing Commission sent a letter to their board, or I forget exactly who they sent it to, but they had kind of said, hey, listen, we've been approached by TKO about this, their requested changes to the Ali Act. And, basically what they said in the letter was, we played a role in this because we want to make sure that the ABC has a role in the future of sanctioning and officiating in whatever future regulatory environment exists. Like almost like, we did this as an act of survival or something like that. And then to your point, when you read what the new changes are to this is new, by the way, this was not voted on in committee. I went to those hearings. It's just the most recent version they're going to vote on. It looks like next week. It kind of positions the ABC, which is basically just a trade organization. It kind of pitches them as a quasi-legal authority now, and to establish almost something like a national commission. So I don't know what it's going to be for state
establishing a national commission, which is but without actually doing it. They're just like, here you go.
Right. They're kind of giving these quasi-real powers to this trade association in lieu of certainly sanctioning bodies, but maybe even state commissions more generally. And it's like, oh, right. Okay. I sort of get what happened here. I see that y'all did the manufacturing of consent on the front end to get this seemingly, is it a reward? I don't know, but it looks like a promotion to me on the back end. But it's just weird, man, because again, like, what's to stop anyone, not just here in DC, like any federal parcel of land, to be like, well, the state doesn't have authority here, so suck it. I don't know what the answer to that is. I really don't. I don't know that there is one. The last piece on this, if I may, Jed, which is kind of interesting, was did you see the Axios report on who was requesting tickets to this?
No.
Okay. Axios is like one of these, it's like Politico. It's like one of these DC swamp media publications where most of the reporting, it's not really valuable to you. But if they're reporting on the DC swamp, they're actually very good at it. Does that make sense? Like, if they're reporting on fundraisers in the city, you should listen to it because they probably have good sourcing. In any event, what they said was it's like the hottest ticket in town among the political consultant class here in DC. So what the plan is what the plan is right now is kind of interesting. What they're going to do is they realize they can't just have 5,000 people from KPMG. Would be a disaster, right? They're not going to pay attention. They're not going to know who any of these people are. They're only going to be there to do deal making. So at least a couple thousand, what they're saying now, are going to be just members of the military. How, Eighth and I, the Marine barracks, I don't know. They'll pull from somebody, right?
It's like a fight for the troops in the weirdest possible scenario.
Yes. Because I've seen Fight for the Troops, and it was those were dope. It would just be a bunch of the troops
just
around.
Like in a hangar.
Yeah, like a military. Exactly. Like that kind of rule, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right. But okay, so it's going to be partly that, and then it's going to be several thousand that are going to be Senate staffers, TKO lobbyists, you name it, like that class of DC. And it's like, one of the things that I think we have to think about is that MVP card is going to be in a normal venue with normal fight fans. This one is going to have, if they have the troops, some normal fight fans, and then just a lot of like Elon Musk weirdness of that kind of class of DC, and how it might look on TV or how it might sound on TV. Hearing some of this, does it give you concern about how the event might go?
I'm more confident now because I didn't read this. I have approached this assuming that it was going to be all the political class of people. It was going to be the presidential cabinet, lobbyists, donors, and that it would suck as a result. It would feel like basically like half of the cards when they go to Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia, and it's just like, oh, everybody is a prince that is sitting by the cage, and it's nobody cares. Like nobody's really invested in this. But I think it's really smart of them to, do a 10 or not 10, sorry, 1,000, 2,000, 2,500 troops to mix in there. Like that gives me some level of confidence that this won't be really quiet, because that was always you'd never know what the acoustics will be like for a specialty live event like this anyway. And so like, how will that resonate on TV? Don't know. Especially if it's just like, if it's Marco Rubio sitting cage side, like he's not going to cheer for anything. So but if suddenly you've got servicemen and women, maybe we can have like some real fun with this too. So that's a really good idea. I am in no way surprised the other half of it, that this is largely, going to be not marketing, but like let's all connect and mix thing. That's sort of just felt like the natural endpoint for it anyway. I love them bringing in troops. Great idea. Good on them.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes in the middle of the war, but it definitely is going to get a better reaction than the consultant class. It's just going to be a question of there's this much demand from the consultant class, because dude, you know how it's going to be. They're going to want to do deals at these places, right? I mean, that's just what it's going to be.
And they're going to pay a lot of money to get those tickets.
Yeah, or do favors. How much of that will push down the amount of troops that they let in? I guess we'll see. In the end, we'll see. All right, that is our top 5. Before we get going, I want to thank our friends at Cuervo one more time. From face-off to final decision, here we go. Fight Night delivers the adrenaline and Cuervo the energy to match it. Whether you're hosting your crew at home or catching the action at the bar, Cuervo brings the good vibes that turn every round into a celebration. From margaritas to palomas, every main event simply tastes better with the world's most iconic tequila. No matter who walks out with the belt, with Cuervo in hand, you're already celebrating like an undisputed champion. For every round, keep it fun. Keep it Cuervo. One more time, we're going to be back in studio April 8th, sponsored by our friends at Cuervo, to discuss UFC 327 for the pregame preview. We'll be enjoying some responsibly. We'll be enjoying some then. So join us in studio at that time.
I'm going to be irresponsible. It's going to be great.
No, I am going to be responsible, because that's how you have to enjoy it. All right, let's go. Long Island Luke, what do we got here?
Well, we got everyone's favorite game up first. It is Rank That Card.
Rank that card! It sucks. Rank that card!
Twice now? What the fuck?
I had it looping. Sorry, my bad.
Long Island, my favorite game is Prop Quiz, just so you know.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Jed, great plug right now. Jed versus Bond in the final coming up right after this in an hour. $100 on the line and tot sauce on the line. You got to tune in. LT, you're going to be up first here. Undefeated fighter with the biggest chance of losing on this card. Luke Riley, Curtis Campbell, or Axel Sola?
Because of his inexperience, I'll go Campbell 1. Because he's British, I'll go Riley 2, and then I'll go Axel Sola as like the top choice.
Shots fired to England.
Or the bottom choice, I should say.
Okay. Jed, you changing that up at all?
I'll go Curtis 1 because I am picking Danny Silva to beat him. I'll go Axel Sola 2. I think Luke Riley is going to win, so I will. Though betting against Cage Warriors guys has historically been a pretty good plan. That's but true. I'll go Campbell, Sola, Riley.
I'm with you on that, Jed. I would have the same one. Jed, back to you. Debuting fighter most likely to be ranked one day. Chanel Dyer, Mantis Contratavicius, and Felipe Franco. I know Felipe's like the biggest underdog on the card, but it's heavyweight.
You got to go Dyer 1 because she's 24 and in a really bad weight class. Franco's also in a weight class that's bad, but he's not good. So I'll go Dyer, Montes, Felipe.
Okay, LT.
I'll slightly change it. I'll go Dyer 1, I'll go Franco 2, and then I'll go Montes 3.
See, I feel like Montes Felipe is probably going to lose, but Montes has a chance. He's going to run through Austin, or he's not fighting Austin Lane. Who's he fighting? Tricoli. He's going to run through Tricoli. He's in a weaker division. I don't know. There's a chance LT, back to you. Who's most likely to win by finish? I wrote Brandon, but it's Brando Pericic, Mario Pinto, or Iwo Baranowski.
Oh, Iwo's got. I mean, I'll go backwards here. So Iwo 1, Pinto 2, and then Pericic 3.
Okay, Jed.
I mean, that's exactly correct. But like reasonably, Pinto and Baranowski are the same. They're both 100% to win by finish.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I still remember the Rebellis to Spain fight where Austin Lane just wrestled him for 3 rounds and it went the distance. And I'm like, there's a world where Iwo, we've never seen Iwo out of the first round. There's a world that Iwo can't wrestle. I don't fucking know. So
I disagree that that's what'll happen. But
I hope you're right.
I've been wrong a lot.
Yeah. Jed, whose stock will drop the most with a loss on Saturday? Evloev, Roman Dolidze, or MVP?
Oh, that's a really Dolidze has to be the right answer because he's losing to an unranked. Maybe not. It's still Dolidze because coming off of the previous loss, I'll say he's going to lose the most. MVP stock would be next because he's old, and Evloev losing to Murphy just in a rational world wouldn't really drop his stock much. It will crater his career, but it won't drop his like broader stock since his.
LT?
I'm going to be a little bit different here. I think the higher you are, obviously, the further you have to fall. I'm not saying that they will fall that far, but that it just means more, to lose that kind of positioning. So I'm going to go in order here. I'm going to go Evloev, Dolidze, and Venom Page. I think Venom Page losing would be bad, but like he's lost before, and MVP would still pick him up. MVP promotions would still pick him up because he could be useful for them. So I don't think it's that bad with a loss here.
All right, MVP and MVP. LT, who's most likely to avoid a third or fourth in Austin Lane's case? Straight loss. Antonio Tricoli, Ravena Oliveira, or Austin Lane?
Jesus.
Honestly, dude, I'm just like, I don't even fucking know.
Odds wise, I believe it's Ravena Oliveira. I think she's the least.
Yeah, I guess I'll go her and then Tricoli and then Lane last. I guess that. Yeah.
We're not buying into Austin Lane at 205, possibly having a career resurgence.
The only thing I believe in for Austin Lane here is that he's fighting a guy who gets hit. And so that is, I don't anticipate that being the most important factor, but it could be reckless and that could be a window for him. So that's something I could look at. But other than that, no.
Jed?
I'll go Oliveira just because that's like the closest of the matchups. I guess, Tricoli is awful, like just truly bad. So I'm going to put him last and I'll go Lane second because like maybe at 205, something's different, but like, and Tricoli is just no on Tricoli.
Tricoli's definitely third. I'm debating between Lane and Oliveira at 1 and 2. I feel like Lane to me is sneaky right here. Oliveira I faded completely. I'm not gonna lie. Jed, most entertaining fighter on the card: Lusain Keita, Luke Riley, or Iwo Baranowski?
I think you have to pick Keita. Are you talking about it in general or on fight night?
Personality could be fight night, could be
give me
style,
Keita.
Anything.
Give me Keita. We just have more of a history of him and stuff. His fight style is awesome. He's really good. Luke Riley, number 2. He gets the next gen Liverpool bump and the Patty bump, and Baranowski last.
See, Baranowski's all stand and bang. He's an entertaining guy, But LT changing that up at all?
I think you could make a case for Riley at 1, but I'll keep it like the way it is. Keita, Riley, Iwo the Donk.
All right. Well, LT, which Scouser is most likely to get knocked out one day? And perhaps you want to choose none of them, but Luke Riley, Curtis Campbell, or Shamrock?
Shamrock has had his shit rocked before, so
Nice.
I'd probably go
Well
him 1, Campbell 2, and then Riley 3.
I think
that's right.
Yeah.
Shamrock is the worst of these 3, so he's obviously the one. And I think Curtis Campbell is not as athletic as Riley, so it seems likely that at some day he'll get jawed.
I think so too. Jed, who's the underdog with the best chance of winning? Roman Dolidze, Sam Patterson, or Nathaniel Wood?
This might be the closest of them. Delize will be last just because I'm genuinely concerned about him at this stage. But if he won, it like wouldn't stun me. I'll go Nathaniel Wood as number 1, Sam Patterson 2, Delize 3.
Okay. LT?
I don't know. I probably put Delize last. I guess Wood 1, Patterson 2. I guess that. I don't know.
You guys are not going with the odds because odds-wise,
Patterson's the closest.
Yeah. All right.
They're all kind of live in some respects.
True. LT, who will have more UFC fights after this card? They are all 37 plus years old. Austin Lane, Michael Venom Page, or Roman Delize?
Delize 1. I'll just say Lane 2 only because he'll probably stick around. And MVP seems like he might be done, or at least at UFC anyway. So yeah, I'll do that.
Wow. Okay. Jed?
I'm with him on Delize 1. I think he's got a couple. MVP 2 because I think he'll have one more fight. I think that's where his contract's at right now. And then I think Lane is done after Saturday. So
I'm with you. On that order exactly. And last but not least, Jed, what is the worst animal nickname on the card? The Balkan Bear, the Vanilla Gorilla, or the Pink Panther?
Did you make these before you recognized that Lo Cinquedo was the Black Panther? And
I knew he was the Black, but that's actually a cool nickname, not a worst animal. Pink Panther's just fucking cringe, man. I don't know.
I think the Pink Panther is fine. There's at least like a story to it. It's kind of a silly story, but like, sure.
No, I'm cool with the gimmick, but I always go by, you're fighting this guy, Jed. Yeah. You've never seen him. You're fighting the Pink Panther. It's like
Vanilla Gorilla and Balkan Bear are fighting each other, which is fun. Balkan Bear is the best, so I'll put him as last. It's just that name speaks to me. I'll put Vanilla Gorilla as the worst because it's just like, hey, you're a big white dude.
Chase Sherman too. Like, just rip it off Chase Sherman.
The Pink Panther at least has some uniqueness to it, so that can be number 2.
All right.
I think this is correct because Vanilla Gorilla is just a coward's version of Honky Kong.
Honky Kong's a much better way.
Honky Kong, I'd be all on board with. Vanilla Gorilla, I'm like, oh, you're just vanilla? Really? That's all you are? So that's the worst one. Pink Panther, I'm neutral about. I don't love it or hate it. And Balkan Bear is actually pretty cool. So I'll take that one as the best one.
All right. Fair enough, guys. That was Rank That Card. Hope you enjoyed it. Now we got a fun one. We only do this when Jed's around. It's time for Better Call Y'all.
We're sorry. The number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
I was like, that's not the only thing we do when Jed's around. We also smoke meth.
Well, questionably we do.
I have all my teeth. That's actually not true. I have most of my teeth, motherfucker.
Shout out. All right. So you guys know the drill. I'm going to present you with a scenario and you have to tell me who you would call in that situation. I'll give you 3 options of who you could call. LT, you're up first. So picture this, LT. You just went on that epic rant of Mike Coppinger, right? The Ring and Turkey, they've realized your worth. They made you an offer you cannot refuse to be their new lead reporter. Okay. Yeah. You and Turkey are best buds for now, but suddenly you panic. You realize all that material you've put out over the years, and you have to find a way to erase it from the internet. Unfortunately, Turkey is holding your hand so tight that you cannot escape to delete the content yourself, nor can you tell anyone without him hearing you. But you're in luck, LT. Turkey doesn't speak Spanish, and you've been extensively training in the art, and this is your moment to shine. So, which Spanish-speaking fighter are you calling to help erase all your Turkey-related content? You can only speak Spanish to them. Your options are Yoel Romero, Tracy Cortez, or Eileen Perez.
Tracy Cortez.
Okay. Can we get some reasoning behind that?
I'm genuinely unsure if Yoel knows how to use a computer. That remains to be seen. I could have a conversation with Eileen and she'll just start twerking. It's like, I need you to focus. I need you to focus. Please focus. And she would not be able to do that. Tracy, I feel like, is given the alternatives, the most sensible. I could just be like, I need some help. Ayúdame, and she would be there for me in that
All
moment.
right. I think
Plus-
that's a very logical, thought out answer there.
It's so logical. Plus, then he can hang it over BC's head that he got to talk with Tracy Cortez.
That's
That's
true.
right.
And you have her number now.
Yeah.
In this scenario.
That might be the stab to BC's heart to really change his life, to be honest with you.
All right, Jed, first up for you. Michael Jordan came out of retirement. Tom Brady came out of retirement. And today, Jed Medshew is coming out of
Jesus.
retirement, lawyer retirement, that is,
This
to
better be an
defend
Afro-Man question.
his favorite fighter, John Jones. So, unfortunately for you, Jed.
John's
Oh,
going.
by the way, the case is if John Jones should be released.
Hold on.
from the
Hold on. I got to interrupt. What I love about this segment is that you don't even bother with AI. You actually do shitty ass Photoshop,
This is
and
like
it's so much better.
Dude, this ain't even Photoshop. This is preview on a Mac. This is fucking basic ass shit. All right. But anyways, you need an asset for the thing. All right, Jed, this is whether or not John Jones should be released. Unfortunately for you, you went to the Georgia Bulldogs game the day before. You are left voiceless, hungover, and downright utterly useless. So you still need to win this case for your boy, though. So who are you calling in to be your co-counsel to get John Jones released from the UFC? Colby Covington, Daniel Cormier, or Tom Aspinall?
I mean, the true answer is Afro Man because
Ugh,
what a legal mind
That would have been a good
that
one.
is.
But that's the right answer. That's why it was too easy,
Yeah. So Colby Covington, Tom Aspinall. Who's the other one?
Daniel Cormier. So all guys that have outright come out and said they don't really like John Jones.
I mean, I think the obvious answer is Daniel Cormier because Colby Covington would not help he might actively sabotage, but certainly even if he was trying his best, he just wouldn't do a very good job. Tom Aspinall is also not the best at communicating the ideas that he wants. Daniel Cormier is he knows how to pitch a case to spin a yarn. So I guess I'm going with DC, but
yeah, but don't you think there's a little part of him that would be like, fuck this guy. I don't care if he goes to, gets released or not. Let him sit there.
No, because I think Daniel Cormier has the appropriate amount of hate in his heart. And I'm a big believer of having enemies and hating somebody forever. I think, but you don't want to corrosively hate them where you are actively wishing ill on them. You just kind of carry it around as a talisman in your soul of your dislike of them. And if you watch them on the reality, whatever that show is, I can't remember it. It's clear that DC doesn't like John, but he's not fuck John, I hate John. He's just I don't really care for him, but I can be civil and, treat him as an adult human being. And so I think he's the best bet in that regard.
All right. I think I would have gone Tom. I'm not going to lie, but neither here nor there as a
Tom
wise
would
man
be the
once
most
said.
fully throated in support of him getting his release. So I guess that's a good argument because Tom probably wants his own release,
That's what I'm saying. All right, LT, back up to you. Tukey and the gang are at it again. They run in and out of your house. They touch dirty up the walls. They do all this shit. They make a mess. This time, though, chaos in the streets. They have hijacked your Jake cake for your birthday, and they are going to town on it. It'll only be a matter of time before Jake is fully consumed. But you could probably get Cake Lady to help you fix it if you wrangle in these kids quickly. So, who are you calling to help you rescue this
that
cake?
is disconcerting.
It's AI, I think. Who are you calling to rescue you from this cake? Rescue this cake from Tukester and the gang. Your choices are Cowboy Oliveira, Antonio Cromartie, and Evander Holyfield. All of which have 11 plus children, so they could clearly, gather a gang quickly. The question is, which one are you trusting to, do the job?
Dude, I think you picked all the wrong guys.
All right.
These are guys that know how to let children loose on the world, not to corral them. You know what I mean?
Well, it's supposed to be bad.
Get
choice.
Nick Cannon in there.
Yeah,
Nick
Nick
Cannon
Cannon.
would've been
How many
a good
does he have? Like a dozen at this point, or maybe more?
I did search. I knew Oliveira and Cromartie because we always talk about them.
Yeah.
I not struggled with the third. I just Googled and Evander was right up high on the list. I didn't see Nick Cannon's name high on the list.
So I've seen Evander relatively recently, and he's a little infirm. I mean, not like infirm, but he's not moving like he did in his cruiserweight days. Let me tell you. So he's out. I don't know what shape Cromartie's in. I feel like Oliveira will always have like country strength. Like if you need a refrigerator taken off the back of a truck,
lassoing those.
Who you calling? You're calling Cowboy Oliveira for sure. You're calling him. So I feel like he'd be the kind of guy. Plus, he's got a long ass reach. I'm gonna go Cowboy Oliveira.
Plus, he's a cowboy. He knows how to like round up farm
That's what I'm
animals while
saying,
sprinting
dude.
away. Like, yeah,
Totally. Great call. Yes, we're gonna go with him.
All right, fair enough.
Just lassoing children.
Jed, we know you're a big fan of the Oscars. I saw you tweeting literally your predictions for like every single category. We spoke last week on Submission Radio. You talked about some of your favorite movies. Well, picture this, Jed. You get a beautiful invitation in the mail to the Oscars. You put on your nicest tux. You get there early. But when you arrive, you're the only one in the audience. And these gentlemen are standing on stage.
Jesus Christ.
You realize quickly
from down under.
You realize quickly this is not the Oscars that you thought it was, but you don't want to be rude and leave. So, who are you calling to join you as your +1 for the remainder of the show?
Fucking Christ.
Gabby Garcia, Gordon Ryan, and then I just threw in a random UFC fight. Peyton Talbot, random fighter.
Peyton, that wasn't random, motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh, that was totally random. Why would you?
Because those two dudes look like they're about to have sex with each other. That's why.
Just putting two random fighters coming to mind. Whoever you want. Yeah, Judd, who are you taking there? Because Gabby's gonna like get on stage and get into it. You're still gonna be feeling alone and lonely. Gordon Ryan is obviously there's gonna be some weird beef, sexual tension there, And then Peyton, I mean, maybe he'd just enjoy it. I don't know.
I think I'd rather be alone and not sharing that experience. So I guess Gabby Garcia and let her go get involved. But this is a no-win situation.
Gabby would be maybe Gordon's the best answer because the show might end early. A fight might break out or something.
I mean, we do know definitively that Gabby Garcia could not win a fight if one broke out. So at least Gordon could theoretically go up there and win.
All right, fair enough. LT, over to you. Due to your proximity, you've been appointed as the lone media member to join the exclusive UFC FBI Summit in Quantico. Am I saying that right? Virginia.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They quickly realize, though, that they are short a body and ask you to step up and roll with the odd man out. But the choice of who you roll with is up to you. So, who in this photo are you calling over to roll with you? Cash Patel, Ali Abdel Aziz, I just butchered that name, or Claudia Gadelha? My effort here is to make you say Claudia Gadelha.
Yeah, it probably is.
BC's choosing.
Yeah, well, I mean, BC would be like, listen, not only are we picking Claudia, I'm going to look like Oscar Willis on that last picture when we do it. There's BC getting ready to roll with Claudia. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. The answer is Jorge.
No, Jorge is not a choice. It's Cash.
I thought you said I could do him.
No, Cash, Ali, or Claudia.
Oh, Cash.
You're rolling with Cash?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna knee cut him into oblivion and make his life miserable.
You're gonna ruin his day.
Are you gonna take his shoes off too that he's wearing?
I'm gonna take him off. I'm gonna fucking take him home. You're gonna walk home in your socks, bitch. You know you've had your ass kicked when you walk home in your socks. That's when it's been a real bad day for you. True. Yeah, Cash Patel. I'm gonna bully him. Are you kidding me?
All right. There you go. Jed, over to you. You familiar with Chase Demore?
I have sadly.
It's the guy that beat Andrew Tate.
This is the guy who beat Andrew Tate. I sadly
do know who this man is.
He also got jumped by the Diaz army. Well, guys, he was back in the ring recently, but this time in the Global Gaming League. Yes, that is a photo of him VR boxing.
This is real? You're not doing a bit?
I am not doing a bit. This is on Bloody Elbow reported this. This is him VR boxing. This is from the actual live stream. Him versus Gilly the Kid. If you guys are familiar with Gilly.
Yeah, he's the the Philly guy.
Look at these two. Look at I know it's a video game, but this is how it would look in real life. Bro, this was the most ridiculous shit I watched for 30 seconds. Howie Mandel was on the card too. Bunch of crazy shit. Anyways, Jed, This is your chance. Who are you calling out for a VR boxing match in the Global Gaming League? Your choices are Daniel Zellhuber, Merab Dvalishvili, and Bo Nickel.
I mean, I feel like the smart money is Merab because I'm taller than him. And like, if we're doing VR boxing, probably have a chance in that, right? Like,
it's
it's
literally
VR
just
boxing. In real boxing, I don't, but like in VR boxing, yeah, like he is shorter than I am, so I have at least one advantage going
But
into
let's
that.
just take the advantages out of it. Who are you like, I want to beat that guy up virtually?
Well, that's the problem. Like, I'm physically incapable of beating up Daniel Zellhuber, but he's the person I would like to cause the most harm to.
There you go.
But I can't, and I won't cause harm to him in VR boxing either. Also, his great weakness won't be a problem in VR boxing of not having it all between the ears. So give me Merab so I can say that maybe I beat a world champion in boxing. Caveat, star, asterisk, VR boxing.
I feel like the right answer, because your avatar could be a different person. I feel like the answer is not Merab, because he'll have unending cardio. He can just, throw the controllers
that's a
out
great
with his
point.
hands.
He'd
I mean,
probably
I
be
could
the
do
best
a-
at VR box.
Look, I don't know if you know this. I can move my arms quite a lot. I'll be
Oh,
fine.
I bet,
doing that.
especially
Yeah.
if there's two guys next to you. Yeah, I bet.
Oh, that was good. That was good. Sorry I wasn't quicker on the trigger there. LT,
God
over to
damn.
you. Do you remember when BKFC announced BKFC, SEA? Their cruise, a 3-day combat sports festival. Well,
Is
lucky
this
you.
fucking real?
Yes,
Oh
this is
yeah,
real.
man.
It's going down
Next
next
year,
year,
baby.
Yeah. LT, lucky you. You and your wife have won free trip/tickets to all 3 events because it's a 3-day event.
No, I'm
Package?
jumping overboard.
Listen, this package includes front row seats each night with your favorite BKFC fighter. So, my question to you is, which BKFC fighter are you calling to accompany you to each night on the cruise? Number 1, the cannoli guy. I don't know his name. You know, I'm talking about the guy who throws the cannolis at the weigh-ins. Number 2, Crazy Horse, Charles Bennett, felony. Number 3, Eddie Alvarez. But the caveat is you have to get into a fight every night with his family while sitting cage side. So you got to scrap. You yourself have to scrap all 3 nights if you choose Eddie.
And his wife will just be yelling.
She'd be like,
Yeah.
Eddie, Lou.
The answer would have been Eddie if it could have been normal, but it cannot be normal under this
well.
scenario, so that's out. I just don't know if a guy whose nickname is Felony is a great guy to hang out with if you're with your significant other. So I'm going to go with the cannoli guy because at least I'll have delicious treats to enjoy on my horrible fucking cruise. Yeah.
The cannoli guy is 100% the answer because, yes, you could eat them, and he'll also probably just throw them at random people throughout,
Yes.
and shit'll break out, and it'll be awesome. Jed, I'm curious if you would pick the same there. You're going somewhere.
I would pick Crazy Horse because let's get weird. Let's have
All right.
some fun, man.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
I watched fights not like with Crazy Horse, but at a local show one time. He was just there. That was the first time I've ever met Crazy Horse, and he's exactly who you think he is.
Yeah, I don't know what I think he is, but that's exactly what I think he is, if that makes any sense. Jed, fast forward to April 8th. Next time we're all in studio enjoying some Cuervo for the UFC 327 pre-game preview. You don't want to look like this again. It's looking silly with a
Nice shirt, jackass.
A wrinkled shirt. So you decide to iron it. Unfortunately, your hotel did not provide you with an iron. So who are you calling to help you iron your shirt for you, to bring over an iron and iron your shirt for you? Is it Iron Mike Tyson, Iron Mike Chandler, or Robert Downey Jr.?
RDJ for sure. I mean, everyone should know my opinions on Michael Chandler. I'm good. Mike Tyson doesn't have the same appeal to me that he does to everybody else. Like, I don't have anything against him broadly, but like RDJ is in one of my favorite movies of all time. And seems largely to just be a cool dude to hang out with for 5 minutes while he irons my shirt. So give me Iron Man.
See, I don't know if you can trust him or Tyson though to like show up and or be on time. Whereas I feel like Mike Chandler, if you're boys with him, he's probably a real stand-up guy. He'd probably be like at your door 5 minutes early with the iron. You know,
I don't need to see him at the top. I'm good.
I'll leave it at the bottom. You know, I'll leave it by the
him.
door. You know?
People forget, dude. Robert Downey Jr. in the 90s was the original Hunter
like
Biden.
Drug addict and shit.
Yeah, dude. He was in jail and in the courts all the time. Like, you know, he's probably a pretty fun hang.
Yeah.
Seems like a really fun hang.
All right, LT, last one for you. We all know the story of you and BC going to see Dead & Co. at the Sphere, and you had to leave early. As time goes on, you felt worse and worse about it. You decide to make it up to BC. You tell him,
this
BC,
is never going to happen.
BC, you pick the show. You pick the venue. I'll stay the entire time. Within minutes, BC finds the perfect show. Cake Lady at the Sphere. You're horrified, but a promise is a promise.
Oh, my God.
BC decides to make it easier on you. He'll let you bring a +1. So who are you calling to be your +1 for Cake Lady at the Sphere with BC? Hasbullah? Tristan from Malka, or Chihuihuis, but he's saying that all night. Raul Rosas Jr.
I don't know who the middle person is, but take that person.
Tristan is, I mean, he's a really nice guy, but Luke and Brian would always joke that he's the type of guy who will like stab them in the middle of the night. So
dude,
I assume it's not the type of guy Luke
get
wants
stabbed.
This is a nightmare scenario.
Get stabbed. Dude.
It's like I can't do drugs at this event to ease the pain because it would just be weird. I mean, if you again having gone to the Sphere, like you got to be careful how many drugs you do before going to the Sphere because you need to moderate how insane that experience is. So I couldn't take him at all because Cake Lady will give me, it's just nightmare fuel. And then you want me to, dude, that sounds like a bad fucking, am I having a dream? Am I in the middle of a fucking dream where I have to now face down these scenarios? I mean, the answer is Tristan because I just punt Hasbullah over the, just chuck him out like yesterday's. And then what was the last one?
Raul Rosas, but he's saying
no, the Chihuahua shit. Like that would get old after 5 seconds. So it's got to be Tristan, but I don't think I'm going to make it through that event.
There could be a level of Cuervo where suddenly it's fun to Chihuahuas with him, but it'd be hard to maintain that equilibrium for the whole event.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do those kinds of drugs. I want to do the other kinds.
Tristan's 100% the answer because not only is he actually a good hang, but he'd also keep his mouth shut the entire time.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even
Yeah, you know what? So
there.
he'd be my stabilizing force before he slit my throat with a box cutter and drank my blood.
Exactly. All right, Jed, last one for you. Picture this. It's Friday night, just like tonight. You got a hot date tomorrow. You want to look and feel good. You've been saving up for the illustrious UFC Fragrance Trio, only to realize they are sold out online and only available at the UFC PI. You decide you're going to make the trip, but your car is at the shop and your criminal record prevents you from flying. So you're going to need to hitch a ride. So who are you calling to drive you from Atlanta, Georgia to Las Vegas, Nevada?
That is a long drive.
As quickly as possible. I'll say as a little caveat, they can be in Atlanta right now. All three of them are in Atlanta right now. Is it Tom Aspinall days after the Cyril Gahn fight? Is it John Jones just on any given, today's Friday? Perfect. Any given Friday. Or is it Darren Till, who, if you need any context, also has had his troubles behind the wheel?
I mean, that's a 30-hour drive straight shot. Like I've done it. It's a long drive.
You've done it?
Yeah. Did
Why?
It once. So I did a cross-country trip.
That's cool.
Post-college before law school. And it's a long drive. So who is John, Darren, who's the other one?
Till, but it's days after the Gahn fight. So
Darren Till, but who's the other one?
John Jones and Tom Aspinall.
Tom Aspinall is the other one. You gotta go Tom Aspinall. I mean, I know he can't see, and so maybe we'll die. Like somewhere in freaking Arizona or whatever, but I don't want to spend 30 hours with John Jones. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but I would need to be paid money to do it and a considerable sum.
Right.
I don't really have like any beef with Darren Till. So, but he also seems like a lot as a person.
He has allegedly stolen a car before and allegedly gotten a DUI before. So
I mean, Look, that means he's a great wheelman. If I were doing a bank heist, we could talk. He just seems kind of like a lot for 30 hours, whereas Tom Aspinall mostly seems like a pretty chill dude. And surely he can see out of one of his eyes, so he won't die.
All right. That's fair. Guys, that was Better Call Y'all. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Long Island, while you're here, quickly plug what you got going on for coverage this weekend, because there's fights tonight and fights tomorrow.
All right. Well, I got prop quiz in 19 minutes. Jed versus Bond, $100 on the line. It's also my birthday today. Shout out.
Hey,
Also,
happy birthday.
Thank you, bro. Tomorrow, I'm doing nothing PFL wise tonight. I don't even know if I'm going to watch. Tomorrow, though, doing a full card watch along for UFC London, 12:45. I'm going live, 12:45 Eastern. So be there, be square. Thank you very much.
Okay. Jed, what do you got for coverage this weekend?
I'm on prop quiz right after this, so go watch me put the tips into Mike Bond. I think the MMA fighting preview show is on right now. So when you're done here, pop over to our YouTube, watch that. Then we're covering PFL, of course. So you can go to MMAfighting.com. It's a great website for results, highlights, etc. Same for tomorrow's UFC London. I'll be on the post show, which thankfully will not be super late in the evening, which we always love. And then we're on to, where are we going next week? What's the fight cards next week?
Seattle. Adesanya
Seattle.
Cypher.
Oh, that's big.
That's the main event, quite big there. So, yeah. Also, RAF is next week. So that'll be pretty big for us as we follow on that.
Very good. I will either have a live post-fight show for UFC London, or I'll have just a recorded video that I'll upload after the fact. I won't watch the fights live in all likelihood, but I'll have some kind of after-action report, either live or recorded. So be on the lookout for that. You can follow us on social everywhere you see on our screen. You can follow us everywhere. You guys have heard the whole story before. You can email us. Let's see if we got there it is. Contact the show, morningcombat@gmail.com. That's for fan subs. That's for dead wrongs. That's for anything. And remember, Long Island, tell them what they're going to win on the fan subs if they contribute the best meme this month. No. That's not.
Yeah, well, I know.
Oh, yes.
In
I'm
the
sorry.
meantime, I don't know if whoever sends in the best meme is going to win an autographed poster of LT, the Army of Donkness poster. So get them in. You have till March 29th. That is Sunday. Send them by like 8 p.m. Eastern, preferably, and we'll get them in for Monday's show.
There you have it. And of course, you can see the merch down there, morningcombat.shop, for all the new releases this month. And of course, you can see them all there. We don't have to go through the whole thing one more time, but you can get the idea. Morningcombat.shop. There it is. All right, Jed, good luck on prop quiz. Everyone go watch that from here. Thank you so much for helping us here today. Enjoy Jed's coverage over at MMAfighting.com's various places. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Back on Monday with Chuck and a reaction to all of the weekend's action. We're out of here. For Long Island, for Jed, I'm Luke. We'll see you all next time. And until then, may all of your gains be loyal.